J. Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Tyvis Powell, Jason Lloyd. Plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
Hey, here we are. It's the ultimate Cleveland sports show on a Wednesday. Jason here for the first, well, not really for the first time this week. You were on the Monday show, Monday show. Tyvis is here again today. Good to see you. Jason, I'm going to start with you. How was Mike as a guest for Christmas?
He's welcome at my house anytime.
Anytime?
Anytime. He was great. My family loved him.
Jason didn't invite anybody else to Christmas.
That is pretty messed up that you didn't do that.
I got yelled at because you invited Mike to Thanksgiving.
Right.
So I got in trouble just sitting here on the show.
Right.
While I'm on the show, minding my own business, I'm getting text by my wife. You're an ass. You probably didn't even invite him, did you? Yeah. You didn't even think to invite him. That's how inconsiderate you are.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, you're right. You know me pretty well. I never invited him. So she invited. We were she was in the car with me, and he called me. We were on Bluetooth, and she said, Mike, I'm sorry my husband's an ass. You are invited to Thanksgiving. Or to Christmas. Christmas. So,
well, I got to say, most of the time when I hear about your debates with your wife, I usually am on her side. But in this case, I don't think you did anything wrong.
Of course I didn't do anything wrong.
You don't normally think to invite.
But you did.
I did, but
he's not from here.
You know why I did? Because I'm not from here originally.
And you were that
so
guy.
I thought about those things.
Yeah.
And it's, but most of the people that live here are from here, born and raised.
Yeah.
So
my kids love Mike.
McNuggets, I couldn't invite you.
Oh, how'd the basketball
game have
go?
To travel.
We talk about that.
It was, I beat AJ. He put up a good fight.
He did?
Yeah. He got some game. He actually has a better jump shot.
Wait a minute, who?
Mike played against Jason's son.
Oh, really?
Yeah. 13-year-old.
Who won?
Mike won.
He's got a couple good moves in his arsenal.
Did he play better than you expected, your son?
Yeah, he held his own. He did all right.
Have you seen Mike play before this?
No, you know what? Mike struggled with his shot a little bit. But no,
I couldn't fly a shot.
But you could tell, he knows how to hoop. There's games where it just ain't going in.
I don't know why, but when I look at McNuggets, I have to see it myself.
No, he can hoop.
When we get to the 5 stats today, there's a stat on Myles Garrett I'm going to give you, which I'm going to completely bring back to my basketball performance in Jason's driveway.
Okay.
And so it's a little teaser.
You were not happy with your performance, though?
Not at all.
But you did win the game.
Did you were you wearing shorts?
I was wearing jeans and old tennis sneakers. AJ came down in a full customized jersey. Head to toe, matching socks.
Oh, he was serious.
He's been talking about this for a week.
He's got a way deeper voice than Mike.
What was y'all playing to?
Played to 11.
Was it close?
11-5.
I mean, that's close. He covered the spread, definitely.
That's what Mike said.
AJ covered
Mike
the spread.
said he definitely covered
I gave him a wide open 3. I said, AJ, I'm not even going to play defense. He cashed it. He made a turnaround where he wasn't even remotely looking at the basket, but it went in. And I'm never going to take anything away from someone in one-on-one. You just got to make shots. And he made a couple shots.
All right.
Kudos.
And he might be a little more physical than you.
So out of curiosity, Mike, you and I played 1-on-1 to 11. What's the score?
If I shot like I did against Jason, you're going to win. If
Against
I make
AJ.
a couple shots,
against the
I'm
13-year-old.
going to take you,
But Mike can play. You could tell.
I don't think I would lose to Mike.
He can hoop.
We can play anytime you want, Ty.
I don't think I'll lose.
It was just
I haven't hooping like that. I haven't done because I did a couple of runs with Cardell on Tuesdays, but I'm nowhere near what I used to be, and I still don't think I'll lose to Mike.
Mike plays all the time. All right, one last quickie before we get into our first topic of the day. There's a lot to get.
And I have a great FanDuel ticket, by the way. Great FanDuel ticket.
Speaking of which, I need I need you guys to tell me what you think here in this situation. So I am playing for a championship in fantasy football.
Oh, it's me too.
A big money, but you're a big money one.
You tell me.
No, this is not a big money.
All right, no, not in this league. You're playing against G. Bush. That's not. It's okay, money. I'm playing one big money, right? The guy who I'm playing against for the championship, he texted me yesterday, and he says, "Hey, do you want to just agree to take the first and second place prizes and split them? So we both get So So first place is I want to say it's 1,800.
Okay.
1,600, something like that. And second place, I think, is 800. So we take, let's say it's 1,600, and the 800 makes 2,400. We each get 1,200, no matter who wins or loses.
That's not bad.
Now, what would you do?
I would take that too.
Now,
I'd take that too.
keep in mind, I think I have the better team.
Okay.
It's close, based on.
Who is your running back?
Based on
do you got CMC?
I do.
Who's your quarterback?
So, you start two quarterbacks. I got Dak and Jared Goff, and they're playing against each other, which I don't love.
I like your chances.
But
who's this quarterback?
He's got Josh Allen and Mahomes.
Take the money.
No, but Mahomes hasn't been that good.
Take the money.
I got way better. Overall, I got better running backs and better wide receivers. But anyway, based on the projections, I'm a slight favorite to win. But I told them to stick it. I play to win.
I like that, Bull. I'm with you.
Yeah.
If you trust your team, go for it.
That's right.
If you trust your team, go for it.
Weird things happen, man.
Can me and G. Bush do that?
You can if you want.
He would never do that.
He would never.
His team is way better than mine. He would never agree to that.
All right, Mike, let's get into it. A lot of topics today. What do you got?
Big show, a lot of topics. We're going to fly through a bunch, but first, an amazing FanDuel ticket I cannot wait to share with you guys. But as the weather gets colder, NFL offers stay red hot on FanDuel, and right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That is $150 if your team wins. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time than right now to get in on the action. The app is easy to use, and there's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and much, much more. So visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL. And our guy, Carmen Santana, he sent me 3 bets. 3 little bets, but this one in particular stood out. He bet 9 cents on the Browns to score exactly 36 points.
Wow.
And won $9.09. That was a 1,000 to 1 return on investment. 9 cents to score exactly 36 points, and he won. He also bet 15 cents on an Njoku first half touchdown, Kareem Hunt second half touchdown, Amari Cooper first half touchdown. 15 cents turned into $19. And he also bet 88 cents on a Kareem Hunt anytime touchdown, Joe Flacco 2 passing touchdowns, Njoku first half touchdown, Cooper first half touchdown, 88 cents into $109.71.
If he would have bet any real money on these things, he would have won a ton of cash.
Made a lot of money, but 9 cents into $9 on exactly 36 points.
I say it all the time. There's $1 on the ground. Bend over and pick it up. I'll take $9 off a 9-cent bet.
It's not bad. I mean, he bet like a total of, what, $2?
But that's the thing, though. When you get those, when you bet them little chump change, you always, just bet something crazy.
Yeah.
And sometimes it hits, sometimes it don't.
Yeah, when you're betting, 9 cents, you have nothing to lose.
Right. I didn't even know you can bet,
I know. I didn't know you could
bet touchdowns.
But with it all being online now, it's like whatever's in your pot.
In your account.
You can
I can't bet on football, so
that's right.
I wouldn't know, but
No.
That's
you can bet on
interesting.
college football, can't you?
I don't know. I'm scared to find out.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
I'm scared. You cannot bet. You can't bet.
That's what I said. I work for the Big Ten, so it's like, can I do it or not? I don't.
You bet on soccer.
It ain't worth it.
I could. I could do soccer, hockey, baseball, basketball.
Those aren't as fun as football.
Just follow Bull's bets for baseball. He does pretty well.
Hey, I'm killing it in
You're doing
NFL,
good on Bet Rivers, too.
In the Bet Rivers NFL picks, I'm killing it.
Yeah?
Who's in second place?
I'm in first place. The guy who's our gambling expert is in second place, 1 game back of me, Jimmy Ott. I'm killing former.
Y'all got 2 weeks to go.
Brandon Stokely and Mark Schlereth, the part of this.
Yeah.
They're last place and second to last. The only ones under 500.
Does this go through the postseason as well?
I think we're doing it through the first week of the playoffs.
Okay.
So
what the winner
I got a 1-game lead. I won
what
4-1
what does
with
winner
Texas.
get? Bragging rights?
Yeah, that's it. I want to talk trash to the rest of the guys. That's all I care about. All right, so guys, tomorrow night, Browns, Jets, and we think about the excitement level. Jason, you mentioned earlier in the week, I think on the Monday, well, it must have had to be on the Monday show, the fact that it seems like, well, not that it seems like, it is. The Muni lot's been a little dead the last couple of weeks.
It has been. I rolled
which
past
is weird because the weather has been relatively good.
Well, it's been a little nippy, but not
nippy. It's December in Cleveland.
Yeah, it's not like in the 20s. It's been like low 40s. So
right.
They
and
should have been
the
out
great.
there.
The team's great. So It's strange that it's been a little quiet there.
I wonder if it has to. Didn't they raise the rates?
They did, but they
did it in season. I
yeah,
thought it was going to be.
No,
next
they did
year.
it in season, but it was like the couple of weeks after that, it was still packed.
It was still packed.
Yeah.
I still wonder if that has something to do with it. I do think it'll be full, just because it's a holiday week.
Yeah.
Last game.
A lot of people are off work. Should be, you would think.
Yeah. Well, look
It's
at
the
our
last
garage
home
here,
game.
even at WKYC.
Oh man, it's been
nobody
beautiful
here.
the last 2 days. Oh my
nobody
goodness,
here.
I've been pulling in like, oh my God, he never had the park
I
this
know.
close.
There's a lot of spots.
The
And
question is, though, Bull.
Yeah.
And I want to ask it this way. Is there a chance this will be the most electric home atmosphere the Browns have had since returning to Cleveland in 1999?
I think it. Well,
Electric.
I can't really speak pre-2010.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
the year with Derek Anderson year.
It's hard to answer these because, like, openers are always have that electric,
Right.
high anticipation atmosphere. And there was the year of the Freddie year when the Titans were in town and people were lining up in the Muni lot the night before.
gosh.
But I'm just saying, people were lining up to get in the Muni lot the night before, and there was so much excitement for that.
Well, how about Baker's first game? Which was a night game against the Jets.
I was going to say that.
Yeah.
And the William Green, the William Run game from back in the day, I think that was before your time.
Yeah,
when,
definitely.
When Jimmy's great call of Run William Run and just the electricity of the playoffs back then. So it's hard to say definitively. But since I've been around this team in 2018, starting in 2018, by far, I think, I was thinking about this driving in, the most electric atmosphere I've seen was that. It was the Baker game against the Jets on Thursday night that broke the losing streak. The Bud Light fridges opened. And we left that stadium. We were walking down, Zach Jackson and I took the ramp down that night. And people were leaving the stadium chanting, "Here we go, Brownies, here we go." And they were acting like they just won the AFC. And they won a game. But they'd been so long since they won a game. That was actually, and you felt like the savior was here with Baker, and like finally they've got this quarterback. So that was a really, that atmosphere was popping that night.
And that's the see. It's going to be hard. But this game is to clinch a playoff spot.
Yeah.
Though. So this one got much more implications on it to where I feel like more people going to be. First of all, it's the last home game because we're not guaranteed no home games in the playoffs. So if you want to see your Browns play in person, this magical season that they've had, you're going to have to come to this game.
Right.
The weather is supposed to be fairly decent.
Yeah, like 40 degrees. This time of year, that's
right.
you can't beat
fairly
that.
decent. It's a night game. All night games always bring more people to it, and it's more electric from that standpoint. And it's a game that you lost to him last year in the 2-minute from 2 minutes, so you got a redemption there. You got Joe Flacco who feel like he got wronged because they didn't come back and find him after Aaron Rodgers went down, so he's going to be hyped up for that. So I think for that standpoint, I can see it being that. Now, matchup-wise, you would think the Browns should win. I still believe it's going to be closer than a lot of people think. But I think that it's hard to say because I thought the 49ers game was like the one this year.
You guys have been at a lot of the games. I don't go to the games. I watch at home. From watching on TV, it has seemed like the crowds as the season has gone on, they've been louder, and it's just been, it seems like the atmosphere has been really good. Has it been standout good?
Has the crowd been good this year?
Yes.
Yes.
Jason, you feel the same way?
It's hard to hear. You know this. It's hard to hear in the press box.
In the press box, but
closed.
I get to hear it when I'm leaving the cardiac club and going up to the press box.
Yeah.
So like I get to be there for intros and stuff like that. So I hear all of that and I see the fans doing all that. Then halftime I leave and I still hear them when I'm walking out the stadium. I can hear them. That's how I know somebody made a play. When I'm walking to my car, it goes crazy.
I've actually seen more empty seats this year, if I'm being totally honest. I've seen more empty seats than I thought that I would.
That's fine, but I feel like the volume of the crowd has been very loud.
Yeah.
At least that's the way it seems on TV.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, he knows. You can't hear anything in the press box.
No.
It's all enclosed in glass.
Right.
I mean, you can hear it a little bit, but not like if they're really into it, it's really hard to pick up on.
So I would think between chance to clinch, night game, holiday week, just the fact that this team, the adversity they've overcome, they're an underdog. This city is an underdog. Like, it's the perfect combination. Joe Flacco is an underdog.
It should be packed, and it should be rocking.
I'm just expecting it to be bananas. I'm expecting it to beat the Baker opener against the Jets.
It should. It should.
You think
It's a much bigger game.
You would think. I just like I said, it's the Jets. If it was the 49ers or something like that, then yeah, it'd be.
I don't know.
I don't think the opponent matters.
Yeah,
in
dude.
this instance,
Yeah,
because
dude.
it's what's at stake on the. It's what's
Right.
at stake for the Browns.
I hear
Yeah.
you on that, but still, people always still want to see
well,
a
if
good
it was
game.
the Steelers or the Ravens,
If it was
the
a
Steelers,
division game,
yeah,
even more.
yeah.
But still, the fact that you can clinch, to me, makes it huge. But go ahead.
Here's how I see it, and
Yeah.
you guys may think I'm crazy, but it's a standalone Thursday night football game. A chance to clinch, and the first time a chance to clinch that's not a COVID year where the fans weren't fully able to celebrate. It's a holiday week, as you mentioned, so people are off.
Yeah.
It is almost New Year's, which means people are taking work off anyway, and in the spirit to have a little extracurricular fun, if you get what I'm saying. I think Nick Chubb is my prediction to be the celebrity guitar smasher. Which
Today's his birthday. Happy birthday, Nick.
In an absolute frenzy on primetime television with everyone being off and completely invigorated with Flacco fever. And Jason, you mentioned it. People that have sold off the Browns for other reasons are now back in because Joe Flacco has kind of reinvigorated this entire franchise. I think it's going to be like a college atmosphere. I think the crowd at the stadium is going to be absolutely bonkers. I think the pregame scene in the Muni Lot and on West 6 is going to be absolutely bonkers. And I can hear the stadium from my apartment if I have the windows open. I'm going to have to shut the windows so they would actually hear the TV. Like, that's literally the level of expectation I have for this crowd come Thursday night.
I mean, listen, it's a chance to be a part of something that you don't see a lot. A chance to clinch the playoffs. Like last year, or the last time they did it in 2020, it was the COVID year, and it took to the last game. And
That
it
was on the
And it
road
was on the
at
road.
Pittsburgh, yeah.
I don't think it's been many times you can say that you was in the building when the Browns clinched the playoffs.
I want to say the William Run game was that. I think that clinched a playoff spot back, way back
Was that
when.
2002?
Yes.
Was he here in 2002? I guess he would have been.
Yeah, that was the year they went
I mean,
to the
it's
playoffs
been
up there.
20 outside of the COVID year. It's been 20 years since the Browns have.
So I
Right.
think from that standpoint, that would make me go to be like, I finally can say that I watched them clinch, like live in front of me. I watched them
Right.
clinch.
Yeah.
Like that's something not a lot of people can say unless you was there in 2002.
Right. I mean, it's been. I think it's going to be huge. I guess you never know. And when the weather is a little colder, but I mean, I think we've been very lucky with the weather in November, December compared to most years.
What is the weather tomorrow?
I think it's supposed. Although
It's supposed to be a little
40.
chillier and windy, but not anything
Probably
terrible
in the
for
but
December.
probably
in
around in
Cleveland.
the
It says cloudy and 50.
at.
Hey, I'll
But
take
probably
that.
not by 8
Not
o'clock.
at 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock won't be
It's a
50.
low of 40.
Yeah,
high
so it's not
50.
going to be. I mean, to be 40 degrees at 8 o'clock at night, between Christmas and New Year's,
I'd
you
go
sign
out
for
there.
that every time.
Yeah.
We
Used
got
to be a
lucky.
foot of snow in that stadium at that time.
Exactly.
Last
cut me in
year,
half.
when did we play the Saints?
That was Christmas Eve.
Yeah, exactly. So that was hideous. It was like negative
I got one more
degrees.
question. We can move on. But Ty, you
Yeah.
played in front of some unbelievable crowds in college at Ohio State.
Yes, I did.
Do
Fortunate.
you think there's any chance Thursday night lives up and compares to some of the crazy college atmospheres that you've played in front of?
Yeah, for some odd reason, I do believe that even though college stadiums hold more fans, I think
lot
NFL
more fans.
I think NFL stadiums are much more louder, if that makes sense. And the Browns is we're a rowdy town, so I think that they'll get much more louder than a college stadium for sure.
Loudest stadium in the Big Ten, Penn State.
Penn State,
Yeah,
easily.
It was weird that Ohio State never created the volume of noise that you would think that it would for as many people that were in there. I don't know why.
It's
but
it's a touchy subject.
It's right. It's never the loudest.
I mean, it's been times that it's been loud, but not consistently. Penn State
is the
loud.
loudest. Penn State is the
boy.
loudest stadium I've ever been in my
I
career.
thought it would be Rutgers, but who knows?
You're hilarious.
All right, guys. So the Browns lost both their kicker and punter. I wonder if that's ever happened before, that a team lost their kicker and punter in the same weekend. And their backup quarterback. They lost their kicker, their punter, and their backup quarterback in the same game. I don't know how that
You
happened.
can't have a season where the most Brown thing hadn't happened yet. So that's something that
There
only
you
would
go.
happen to the Browns.
So the Browns needed quick answers because they had a game to play 4 days later. And they have signed 2 veteran players. Riley Patterson is a guy who's not been in the league that long. This is his third year in the NFL. We'll start with kicker here. These are his numbers from this year, guys. The numbers are really good, right? Overall, 15 of 17 which is 88%. He's made 35 of 37 extra points. Lions don't kick a lot of field goals, as you can see. They score a ton of points, as you can see with the extra points. His last game with the Lions was 2 weeks ago against the Bears. He did miss an extra point in that game. He didn't attempt any field goal.
Did they lose? They lost to the Bears, right?
They lost the first time they played the Bears. They beat them the second time.
No, you got it backwards.
I got it backwards?
They came back and beat the Bears the first time. They lost the second time.
Ah, okay, my bad. So then he missed the extra point in the game they lost.
Correct.
Now, it wasn't a game-winning,
No.
it wasn't like it cost them the game, and that's why they cut him. So I wanted to know, why was Riley Patterson cut? Because the numbers are good. And it was no, like, big moment where he missed a big kick. They've been good. He's been good. And so I said, well, what happened here? So not this was too hard to research, but go ahead.
Was he was a free agent or he was on a practice squad?
No, he was their kicker.
No, I'm talking about how the Browns just got him. What was he? He was a free agent?
He had been cut, yes. He was a free agent,
okay.
yes. So Patterson apparently lost his job to Michael Badgley, who used to be with the Chargers. Apparently, Badgley and Patterson, every week in practice, because Badgley was, I guess, on their practice squad, were, kicking balls. They were practicing kicking.
They were busting balls.
Busting balls. For the last bunch of weeks, and according to their special teams coach, who I don't remember his name, he said that the new kicker was doing a better job, and that's why they got rid of this guy. But because at first I was like, well, why'd they cut him? Because he hadn't missed, usually when a guy gets cut during the season, either his overall numbers are bad or he missed a really big kick in a big spot. Didn't happen here. So what I would ask, and before I get to more on him, what I would ask you guys is, listen, and he's 50% in his career on 50-plus yard field goals, 3 of 6. He only attempted 2 this year, 1 of 2. So, and the Lions were not, this is an interesting tidbit here, the Lions were not using him to kick off. The Lions punter, Jake Fox, was their kickoff guy. Now, he was in Jacksonville last year, and he did do kickoff, so obviously he can do it. But what's our confidence level for you guys? Obviously Hopkins was just kind of a guy before he came here. Here he was great. What do we think of this guy coming in? Good numbers.
What is his but past 50 yards, he's 50%.
3 of 6 in his career.
But
over 3 seasons.
Anything
1
under
of 2 this year.
Anything under that, what is it? 88%?
For his career, better than
he's
that.
58 for 66 on field goals. So if you take out the 3 for 6, that means he's 55 of 60 in his career inside of 50 yards.
This
is what I was.
That's over 90%.
I was on who was I talking to? Was it Phil? Maybe it was Phil Dawson I was talking to on the radio. Phil was talking about how when he was a kicker for the Browns, he said the ones that he didn't care about the most was the ones that was over 50 yards, because he says it's like a 50-50 chance you're going to make that anyway. So you just line up and kick it your best as you can. But the ones that's under that, that's where the pressure's at. And you saying he's 51 of 60 outside of?
He's 55 of 60
inside 50.
Oh, I like that. I mean, listen.
That's 92%.
The Browns just know that you got to get it under 50. That's probably the way they look at it, and he seems like he's pretty good there. Dustin Hopkins was special because he was able to make those, and being with Bubba Ventrone, obviously they got together. He helped him out on a couple of things, and he helped him be more successful. Hopefully Bubba can do that with Patterson. I know it's a short week, so that might take a little bit of time, but for these next 2 weeks, listen, I just need him to make the ones under 50 yards. I think that's where the Browns are.
Jason?
Yeah. There was a time we didn't know anything about Dustin Hopkins, and we were making fun of his name, and he clearly lived up to every expectation and more. My concern now is those numbers were, I don't know about all his career numbers, but the Lions numbers were in a dome.
Well,
and there ain't no dome now.
3 years in the league. He was with the Lions his first year.
Yeah.
The Jags his second year, so warm weather.
Yeah.
And then back with the Lions his third.
And we could have said the same thing about Hopkins with the Chargers.
Yeah.
In terms of being a dome and whatever, but I mean that's the biggest adjustment for Patterson to make, is that you're kicking in Cleveland in December. You're pretty far removed from a dome.
But still, he still got to go to Green Bay, and he still had to go to Chicago.
But let me say this: once we get to the playoffs where it matters, right? If he has to kick the first week, it's probably going to be in either Miami, Houston, or in a dome in Indianapolis.
Yeah,
Hold on, wait,
so we're not worried about weather there.
Mike, let me ask you this. You can look this up. Where was he at when he missed the field goals? Can you look that
His
up?
misses, yeah, I can find. Hold
But
on.
let me tell you, the one thing I'm a little concerned about the long field goals with him because he's only 3 of 6, because they didn't attempt a lot, and the fact that they didn't have him doing kickoffs makes you think, well, he doesn't have the strongest leg.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Now, again, he did it in Jacksonville. He did the kickoffs there, and maybe it's just that the Lions punter is really good, and he's good at it. One thing I will say that's a positive for this guy is he kicked in the playoffs last year because he was with Jacksonville last year.
Yeah.
And they played 2 playoff games. They were both, remember, they had the big comeback against the Chargers, and they had that close game with the Chiefs that they got eliminated in. He was 3 for 3 field goals in the playoffs. He was 4 for 4 in his extra points. I don't remember if any of the field goals were over 50, but he was perfect. So he's been in those pressure situations at least last year. And another positive is that he's been kicking this year.
At the end of the day, if it's under 50, I trust him. If it's over 50, it's quick. But you know what? We got 2 games to find out.
Yeah,
we'll find out these next 2 weeks.
Hopkins got to the point where he had Kevin Stefanski's full trust, and I
Yes.
think it altered the way Kevin called games,
No
knowing that
doubt.
he had a kicker who he felt comfortable with from 55 even, 55, 56. And
Right.
I think that starts over now,
100%.
where Patterson has to earn that trust. And, I think Kevin's going to call probably a different call on 3rd down if he's looking at a 57-yard field goal and Patterson standing on the sideline as opposed to the faith that he had in Hopkins.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're 100% right on that. There's no way you're going to trust him much. Go ahead, Mike.
I got the answer, Tyvus. You ready?
Yeah, please tell me something.
So
good.
in his career, this is in his career. He's got 8 misses in his career. At Seattle, at Washington, home versus Vegas. He missed 2 in a game versus Kansas City, in Kansas City. He missed a kick at MetLife playing the Jets. Missed a kick in Tampa playing the Buccaneers, and he missed another kick at home against the Raiders. So 6 of his 8 misses. have come
Where was the
on the
Kansas?
road.
The Kansas City game was what time of the year?
The Kansas City game when he missed 2 kicks was on November 13th.
All right, so I mean, who knows? It
That
doesn't
tells
sound
us
like weather's a
Yeah, tells us that.
Tyvus asked, I delivered.
I just
you
wanted,
did, you did.
I wanted to
Didn't
know.
tell us much, but-
I thought I wanted to see the
If
weather.
they were all in Chicago,
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's true.
I was sure gonna say, please say that. Don't say Green Bay or Chicago.
Now let's flip, guys. Now let's flip to the punter. So the punter, Matt Hawk, is a guy who obviously has a connection with Bubba Ventrone because he was the punter in Indianapolis in 2022. So he was his punter last year. He's been in the league for a long time. He's actually, I think he's played like almost 100 games in his career. So he's got plenty of experience. He has not been a guy that has ever really been a kickoff guy, so I would assume the kicker who didn't do it this year but did it last year is going to be the kickoff guy. In terms of the punter, I'm a lot less worried about him than the kicker. But it's good that they got a guy with experience.
They haven't ruled out Bajorquez yet. So,
I thought he was ruled out for this game.
no, it's
No,
day to
not
day.
ruled out yet.
It's
Okay.
day.
All
Kevin
right.
said yesterday he's day to day.
Okay.
It sounds like the Hopkins thing could be a couple weeks. I don't know if he'll be back for the playoffs or not.
Yeah.
And probably, if I had to guess, Bajorquez probably isn't going to kick Thursday. It's a short week, obviously.
Why would you rush it back?
Yeah, I think more than likely it'll be this guy. But
Yeah.
just for the record, he has not been ruled out yet. Bajorquez.
Both Patterson and Hawk have been signed to the practice squad. They're both on the practice squad and not on the active roster today. But they could be called up for elevated for the
Yeah,
game tomorrow.
they've got some decisions to make with the roster. Obviously, putting DTR on IR.
Right.
opens
They got to
a
add another
spot
quarterback.
on the practice squad. Probably, yeah. They'll have to. I don't know where they're going to go, but they'll have to find someone for the practice squad. But PJ will take DTR's spot on the active roster. I
Yeah.
can't believe. I knew he'd come back. He's like a boomerang.
Yeah.
Tyvus' favorite player. No matter how far you throw him,
Whoa.
he comes right back.
My favorite player is Denzel Ward.
If Tyvus wins the fantasy, he should have to buy a Phillip Walker jersey with him.
Yeah.
I would.
Are they even selling them
I
at
would-
the
I
Browns?
would.
You have to customize that.
Only if I
that's
could.
true.
Only if I could get him to sign it.
Yeah.
Phil,
Hey,
you got to sign my jersey.
Mike, real quick before we switch it up. Jason, yesterday we had a debate about and who it's insane that we're having this debate the beginning of the year, but it is what it is now. Who could the Browns less afford to lose?
Yeah.
Do you know about this?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I went back and watched it. Mike was texting me about it.
Yeah. Now, obviously, Tyvus made a crazy comment to start it.
Yeah.
But
now I did not.
wait a second.
It's not
But
a
his argument obviously is legitimate.
Leroy backed it.
He
said exactly what I said.
He and Leroy said that Myles Garrett's, it'd be the bigger loss, and Earl and I said it would be Flacco. What say you?
I actually agreed with him
Yeah.
until DTR went on IR because P.J. Walker's not an NFL quarterback. At least you have NFL replacements if Miles went down.
minute.
Yeah.
P.J. Walker's not an NFL.
Wait a minute.
He's not an NFL
Jason,
quarterback.
see, this is the part that y'all are so stuck on.
Yeah.
Y'all so stuck on the fact that if Joe Flacco went down, it would
Yeah.
be PJ.
Right.
It's not the case.
Well,
They
who
would
would it
probably.
be?
They
He's
would,
the backup
They
quarterback.
would eat for that game. Yeah,
Well, you tell me there's no difference between P.J. Walker and Flacco.
No. I said the biggest difference between the two is that one throws touchdown.
Ask Amari Cooper's ribs if the only difference between P.J. Walker and Joe Flacco.
You living in the past.
It was 3 weeks ago.
That's all we got is the path. Wait, so who do you think they would sign? Who should the Browns sign? We need another
Nick
quarterback.
Foles.
Carson Wentz? We signing Carson Wentz?
No.
He's
Carson
signed. It would have to be
Oh,
Nick.
that's right. I
It'd have
forgot
to be
he signed.
Nick Foles.
Just bring them all back. Bring all the old, washed up, former Super Bowl winning quarterbacks back.
You
and hope
you
can't
don't think
magic in
if
a bottle with one.
if Joe Flacco went down and they signed Nick Foles that he was even a smidget of what he was when they
Did you say a smidget?
a smidget of what he was when the Eagles won it all that they couldn't
That's
win
the only time he's ever been good in his career.
So if
was
he-
that like
all right
8-week stretch?
So if he was a little like say he was 70% that guy, they
No.
couldn't win the Super Bowl?
There's no way that's.
Why not?
If he were 70% that guy, I guess they could. But
All right, so
the odds of him being that are almost nothing.
but if Myles goes down, it's
I don't know.
who is your answer?
My answer now that because I actually like DTR. Like I
He
thought,
struggled a little bit this last game.
but I mean, he was in garbage time. But like the Denver game, I really thought he was starting to. Put it
I
together.
agree with you. He was looking
then
pretty good.
And then he got the friggin' concussion.
Now he's-
but it felt like he was starting. So I actually think there's something there. But now he's on IR and he's
Wait a
done.
second. He's on IR because of concussion?
no, he hurt his
because
hip
he hurt his
against
hip.
Chicago.
He hurt it-
that's right. He hurt
the
okay, I
one
was
series
confused.
that he went
Yeah,
in
right.
at the end of the game, he got sacked and he hurt his hip on
Yeah.
the sack. And I guess it's a good thing they took Joe out of the game. Can you imagine if it was Joe that went down on that
God.
sack?
Don't even
What?
say
It was a backup.
All right, Mike, go
One
ahead.
little note on that, then we'll move on. But
Yeah.
Ogbo said he is trying to prepare to come back and play in the playoffs.
Really? He did not
So-
practice yesterday?
No,
Oh,
he's not
playing the
playing.
playoffs.
Yeah, this won't be till the playoffs. But he is working toward. Mo Hurst out for the season, will not play in the playoffs with a torn pec. Ogbo is working and trying to rehab to get back on the field come playoffs, assuming the Browns find a way to make it, and they have a 99% chance right now. We're going to move on to our next topic, but first, a quick word from FanDuel. As the weather gets colder, the NFL offers stay red hot on FanDuel, and right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action than right now. The app is easy to use, and there's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and much, much more. So visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL. I'm going to give you guys a what's more likely scenario.
Before you do, we have Mary Kay coming up next hour. We also have Mike's six packs of nugget questions.
Stats.
That's all. What's that?
Stats, not
Oh,
questions.
stats, not questions. Yeah, bad job.
And the
Andy.
Kool-Aid meter that we've never done before.
And the
that I
cool.
think
Oh
people
yeah,
are
the
gonna
Kool-Aid
like.
meter. That's all coming up next hour. But first, go ahead. Give us the question, Mike.
This is a what's more likely based on the Jets game. It's just one. And we're going to spend about 10 minutes doing this before we move on. But what is more likely to happen on Thursday? The Jets score more than 13 points or get completely shut out against this Browns defense?
Tyvus, start us off.
More likely to happen, the Jets get shut out on Thursday Night Football. I think their offense is just struggling. Trevor Siemian is not looking that great. Breece Hall looked pretty good, but I think the Browns do a really good job of, stopping the run as of lately. And I just don't see. I don't see it. Like Garrett Wilson, go Bucks, is really good, but so is our secondary. And I just don't think anybody outside of him is a guy that can really hurt you in the passing game. So I think they're gonna do a great job of taking him away. And as long as you stop Breece Hall, it's really nothing there. So I just don't – the 13-plus, I don't see it. So more likely getting shut out.
I'm going the other way. I think it's more likely to score 13 or more because the Browns and Flacco, as much as everyone loves him, does have a tendency of bad turnovers at bad times. And he could put them on a short field, and then it's easy points. We've seen that multiple times. I still think the Browns are going to win this game, but I don't think that they're going to get a shutout. They've got one shutout this year. It was against the Cardinals and another quarterback that was not really an NFL quarterback. So it's so hard. You know this. It's so hard to get a shutout.
It really is.
In the NFL, especially like garbage time. Backups are in, teams playing for pride to avoid a shutout. You can get a junk score at the end. So I just think just because the turnover problems that the Browns have had, the Jets have a good defense. You can turn them over, put them on a short field, and get points out of it.
Yeah, that's the only way the Jets are going to get 13 points. The Jets are not driving down the field for 13 points. In the end, the answer is probably 13, but I'm going with 0. I've got the Browns in that big money fantasy league I was talking about. I've got the Browns defense. I need a shutout. I want a shutout. I want 7 turnovers by the Browns defense. I want 13 sacks, and I want a shutout. Get it done, Myles Garrett. Let's go. Here's the thing. The Jets' offense is absolute trash. They have the worst offense probably in the NFL. Maybe New England is worse. They have nothing besides Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson. Those are their only. By the way, they have a guy on defense named Bryce Hall. They have Breece Hall and Bryce Hall.
It's Bryce Huff. I hate to ruin your parade, but it's Bryce Huff, not Bryce Hall. Bryce Hall's a TikToker.
What did I say?
Why do you know that?
You said Breece Hall and Bryce Hall.
Instead of?
It's Bryce Huff. Bryce Huff's good. Bryce Hall's a TikToker.
I don't know what I'm saying right now. There's something wrong. There's been something wrong with my brain all day. I got to go to the doctor. I was in the post office this morning, and I did like 3 things wrong. I did something wrong. I think I've not got enough sleep the last few days. I can't even say.
You know why I think I'm going to go with the shutout over the 13 points?
Yeah.
Because for some odd reason, the Browns tend to play better at nighttime, primetime games.
They play better at home, too.
At home,
They do play better
primetime
at home.
games. So I think that knowing that this is a chance to clinch and to make it a special moment, let's make the moment very special and shut out a bad offense. I think they'll be more motivated to do that so we can rest next week.
Who can you even name, like if I said to you, who's the 3rd best player on the Jets offense? Can you name him?
Allen Lazard.
I mean, that's.
Well, we have. Well, I'll give you guys. I'll give you guys some names.
Conklin.
This is a
Jack,
legitimate
no, not
question,
Jack.
Bull.
What's his name? Tyler Conklin?
Tyler
No,
Conklin.
he
Yes.
sucks.
Tyler Conklin.
He asked me who was the 3rd best player.
No, I know. I'm gonna give you some options here. About Dalvin Cook. Ooh. Alan
Dalvin Cook
Lazard.
stinks. He's
No,
shot.
that's my point. I'm giving you names that all stink.
Yeah.
Alan Lazard, Randall Cobb. How's that for a 3rd option?
Randall Cobb, I didn't know he was still in the league.
Yeah.
Alan Lazard and Randall Cobb are not even starters.
He goes wherever
Xavier
A-Rod
Gibson.
goes.
They stink.
Did he?
And their
Yeah, they
offensive
suck.
line's the worst in the league.
Terrible.
They have no good tight end. They have one good
Tyler
receiver.
Conklin.
They got one good back.
You don't like Tyler Conklin?
He's just a guy.
He's a jag.
Yeah. He's nothing. They have 2 good players.
Wait a minute. They
You
don't
said
got CJ Uzama no more?
He stinks. He was only good because of Burrow. Wow. Same thing happened last year. They had Hayden Hurst there. He was good because of Burrow. He goes to
Uzama's
Carolina.
on
He
IR,
stinks.
Ty.
Oh,
He's on IR.
And he's hurt. Listen, Garrett Wilson, really good player. What the hell's he going to do? He's got no quarterback, and he's got good players that he's got to deal with. He ain't doing crap in this game.
He is a phenomenal talent.
He's still going to get 1,000 yards,
By the way,
though,
bad
huh?
job out of me. I'm dissing Tyler Conklin. He's got 748 yards. I didn't realize he had that many yards.
Someone has to catch passes.
Thank you.
I didn't say Breece Hall. What did I say, Mike?
You said Bryce
You
Huff.
said Bryce Hall.
You said Bryce Hall.
There's a Bryce Hall in their defense. That's what
No,
I'm
his
saying.
name's. Take 145, Steve, please. Just
It's
take it
Bryce
full. Don't even
Huff.
box it with bull. Take it whole. His name's Bryce Huff. Bryce Hall is a TikTok boxer.
Oh, God.
What is wrong with
I screwed that up on my podcast yesterday, too. Who cares? He's on the Jets. You're the
one who brought it up.
Hall. Who gives a rat's ass?
I'm about to say, hey, you know what the sick thing is?
I was
He
so-
had nothing to do with it.
I finally got it. I was completely confused. I was not understanding what you were saying to me. I thought you were saying Breece Hall his last name was Huff, and I'm like, what?
No, Breece Hall exists.
Yes.
Let's clarify for the people. Breece
Okay.
Hall is a running back
It's
for the
Bryce
Jets.
Huff, not Bryce Hall.
Huff
That's a defensive
is a
back.
defensive end for the Jets. Bryce Hall
Brain
is
not
a
functioning.
TikTok boxer.
I told you, my brain is a little slow going today.
The funniest part is that Bryce Huff had nothing to do with anything.
Nothing.
You just brought him up.
Because I thought his last name was Hall. I thought it was interesting that it was Breece and Bryce Hall. But he's not Hall. He's freaking Huff. I'm a nitwit right now.
And Bryce Huff's pretty good, by the way. Bryce Huff's actually a pretty good
He's a
defensive
decent
end.
player?
Yeah,
Well,
he's not
yeah, they
bad.
got a decent defense, but yes.
That's
and
what
that's
scares
the only
me.
thing that can lead to points for them.
Yeah.
They are not going to march down the field scoring points.
It's going to be a closer game than you think.
And no, I just don't think the Jets' defense is.
So they
the Jets,
covered
They
it.
gave them 30 points to Washington.
Is it still 7-point spread? Is that still the spread right now?
I think it's 7.5 last time I checked.
You think that they're going to cover a 7.5 point spread?
Why not? They did against the better team last
We
week.
just said they're shutting him out.
That's true, Tyvis.
Yeah, well, I didn't say it was going to be
Browns gonna score 60 points?
Yeah, it's going to be no. I said, what did I said 10-3 or something like. No, the question is it going to be a shutout or do they get
What's more
13
likely?
points? What's
Yeah.
likely? I'm saying it's more likely they get the shutout, but I'm not saying that they're going to shut them out. I said my prediction is like 10-3.
Oh, wait. I have to apologize. I just got a DM. There's a Bryce Hall and a Bryce Huff on the Jets.
Thank you. Thank you. You have me feeling like an idiot there, and I was
Evan
right.
419 just came to your rescue. There's
Thank
a
you, Evan
quarterback on the Jets
419.
named Bryce Hall. There's also a linebacker named Bryce Huff. Bull, I am sorry. You were wrong because you were thinking of the wrong player anyway.
No, I wasn't. I had it right. I said
You
he
called him a defensive end. The defensive end is
I
Bryce
said
Huff.
defensive back.
You said defensive back.
I said
you?
defensive back.
Did-
I was right.
but you
Then
said
hang up.
he's-
I apologize. My
He's
bad.
a defensive back, Bryce
He
Hall,
is.
right?
Yes, he is. Bull, I
See?
apologize. I apologize.
You have me feeling like I'm a lunatic over here,
Well, you
losing
are.
my marbles.
You are a
I
lunatic.
mean, you
Now,
are.
I am losing my marbles a little bit, but not for that.
Well, you was because you couldn't even comprehend that he was telling you Bryce Huff was it
It was
Breece
not
Huff?
clicking in my brain. But
You're right. I'm wrong.
none
My
of
bad.
that would have
My
happened
bad.
if you had not corrected me incorrectly.
So Bryce Huff is a good football player.
Yeah.
Bryce Hall sucks. He has 2 tackles all season in 9 games.
I
so-
did not say he was good. I just said they had 2 guys with the same last name
You're
and
right.
very similar first names.
Nope,
that
you're
was
right.
my point.
I stand corrected. I apologize, Bull.
Yeah. Now, Breece
wrong.
Hall is a really good player.
Very good, yeah.
And next year, I think he's going to be fantastic because they have kind of kept his carries down coming off the injury last year. What is he averaging per carry? Because this got to be really.
4.2 yards per carry. He's got
That's it?
732 yards per carry.
I don't understand how it's only 4.2.
Wow, he
I
not
feel like he has a
even
big
close
game every
to
week.
1,000. That's crazy.
I mean, do the math.
As much as they should be running the ball with him.
No, that makes sense. Man.
I mean, do you want his game? You want his game log real quick?
He must have had like 1 or 2 really, really bad games because I feel like every
So
time.
yeah, so Bull, he had a game. He had 13 carries for 16 yards.
Okay.
That's
He had
a
6
shutdown.
carries for 12 yards, 7 for 25, 10 for 23, 13 for 28. His big games have been huge.
Okay, so he's been all or nothing.
Yeah. And last week, by the way, he had 12 receptions for 96 yards as well. So
Yeah.
He had 95 yards on the ground, 96 yards in the air, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, he's a threat, but that's it. They got 2 guys, and in the end, we've talked about this for far too long. So let's keep it moving, Mike.
Last thing on
Yeah.
Breece Hall, then we're going to get to my 5 stats, but he averaged, this is a game-by-game yards per carry, 13, 2, 1, 9, 8, 3, 1, 3, 2, 2, 3, 1, 4, 4, 11. So, yeah, it's been totally hit or miss with Breece
Yeah.
Hall.
So he's-
totally hit or miss.
Wait a
we're
minute.
gonna move on to-
Wait.
What's up?
What's Jerome Ford's numbers on the year?
I think he's averaging
Jerome
3.8
Ford,
yards
like
a
his
carry.
per game yards per carry?
Yeah.
Jerome Ford, his per game yards
Do
per
it a little
carry.
slower, Mike. A little slower.
Well, I gotta talk. I gotta look this up.
Yeah.
2.4, 6.6, 1.8, 2.9, 4.9, 6.7, 4.1, 2.2, 6.3, 2.6, 7.2, 2.1, 3.3, 2.5, 1.7. 3.9 for the season.
He went off the cliff. But yards wise, they pretty similar.
How many games
He has 11 more yards on 60 more carries.
Never mind.
How many games has Jerome Ford averaged over 3.5 yards a carry?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
All right, better than I thought.
So, all right. Let's
He's
move
still
on.
not
We get to
very
our
good.
5-pack of stats, which actually starts with a running back stat, but this
Okay.
5-pack of stats for the Jets-Browns game is brought to us by FanDuel. As the weather gets colder, NFL offers stay red hot on FanDuel, and right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action than right now. The app is easy to use, and there's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, awards, over-unders, and much, much more. So visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL. These stats range, by the way, from the running game to Flacco to Amari Cooper to Myles Garrett, and then to something you guys need to know about the Jets. But we'll start with the running game, and I should clarify that. We should start with the lack thereof in terms of the Browns. In the last 3 games, the Browns have 76 rushing attempts for 176 yards. That is 2.2 yards per carry, by far the worst in the NFL. And you can say, well, they're not running it. They actually are averaging 25.3 yards per carry in that stretch. That's 17th in the NFL. But they're 55 rushing yards per game, dead last. So the Flacco, he's been wonderful. He's throwing the ball more.
Yeah.
Part of the reason he's throwing the ball more is they simply can't run the ball at the moment. It has to be a run for
And
pass
what about,
offense.
is that including quarterbacks and
No, that's just running backs.
Just running
running
backs.
backs.
And
yes.
Batonio and Posick were back last week. So they had
Yeah.
basically their, the tackles are what they are.
Yeah.
But everyone keeps telling me what a great run blocker James Hudson is. So they're, what's the reason? If you've got your both guards back and your center, and the swinging gate at right tackle is supposed to be a good run blocker.
James Hudson and great should never be in the same sentence.
I've had people tell me he's the best run blocking tackle they have.
Wow. Are those people drugged when they tell you that?
Wait a minute. You're talking about when everybody's healthy.
Yeah. Better than Conklin.
You know what? He's gonna have to figure it out because this 44 passing attempts to get it's not gonna last, man.
Well, I mean,
I agree with you. They've
not
got to
gonna
figure out a
last.
way to get something going on the ground because you're playing with fire. If you have Flacco back there throwing as much as they have, it looks great, and it's worked to this point.
He's still turning the ball over.
He is.
may not have a choice.
But
I
I'm
mean,
just saying-
clearly that's what we've been seeing for
Right.
the past 3
And
weeks.
if it continues down that road that you don't have a choice, it's going to blow up on them at some point. I think is what we're saying.
Yes.
Probably.
You could be
Probably.
right, and they don't
Like
have
we
a choice.
lead the league. Well, we don't lead the league in turnovers, but
It probably will blow up on them at some point. But this season's been so crazy and nothing makes sense.
I know.
Who knows?
I know.
you got a point
Who knows? They don't need it to be for 20 games. They need it to be for
Just a couple more.
maybe 6 more.
Is it the blocking, or do you think it's the running back?
I think a running back has a lot to do with it. I don't think he's very good.
It's definitely. I mean, it's not all on the running back.
It's
And
not
I've been-
all on the running
We've both
back.
been harsh on Ford, but it's not all on him.
No, but I put more of it on him.
So you in the Pierre Strong campaign too?
Well, why
No.
not try somebody else?
I mean, I guess, but I don't think what they have is very good right now.
This is my thing. Pierre Strong, to me, it's at times he gets like 6-7 yard carries. Jerome Ford seldomly, even when they throw a jailbreak to Ford, or not Ford, to Strong, he still makes something. He got called back like 2 weeks ago,
Yep.
but he's been very effective in what you would want in the run game, whether it's handing it off or giving it to him in the screen game. He's been effective. I just don't understand why you.
I haven't asked
continue
enough. I'll poke around.
He
on-
must fumble the ball. He got you. It's something.
Or
about
is
him
it the
holding.
blocking? Is he not a
He
good?
grades, and I don't watch it closely enough. He grades out terribly on PFF and pass block. I have no idea if that's the reason or
Well,
not.
is
but
Ford that good?
It's better than Strong.
I mean,
I get you got to earn the right to carry the ball. I get that, but like at this
I'm all
point,
for giving him more carries. Like I'm all for. trying.
yeah,
I'm
like
just- I'm just saying
I've
that
been
might
saying
be
this
the
for
reason.
like I've been saying this is probably the Colts game. Maybe I've been saying why don't they get this man the ball?
Yeah, I've seen enough of Jerome Ford. I don't need to see any more.
exactly. I was trying to find if there are any veteran free agents out there.
I don't
They
care
had Kenny
about
and
that.
Drake, but then he got picked up by another practice.
He with the Packers.
Melvin Gordon just signed to the Ravens.
No, I wouldn't
roster.
take it. He got a fumbling problem. No, Pierre Strong got good vision. He just don't get enough carries. My personal opinion, I would at least give him at least 10 to see what he do because he was averaging 10 a carry right before he. No, it was a small sample size, but he was averaging 10 a carry.
If you have Ethan Posick, a healthy Posick at center, if you have Batonio and Wyatt Teller at guard, and if what they say is true that James Hudson is a very good run blocker, there's no reason for this offense to be struggling to run the ball as much as they are. There's no reason. There's no valid reason other than the running backs aren't very good. I mean, what else is there? What else is there?
I don't think the offensive line is run blocking very well.
Well,
they graded out terribly in PFF, didn't they?
They did. I can't find a free agent running back list.
There isn't one. So you telling me? Wait, but
yes, I'd like to see Pierre Strong.
Okay, so
I'd like to see anything.
What would how many yards would Nick Chubb have behind this line?
Oh my God,
Happy
not as
birthday,
many
Mr.
as he
Chubb.
normally have, but he still had a lot.
But this the thing.
He'd be averaging over 5 yards a carry.
So what you're saying is, no matter what happens at the end of the season, they need to be either drafting or signing a free agent running.
Well, I think a receiver needs to be more of a priority than
yes.
They need to spend their first pick on a receiver.
Why, you don't think they're going to renegotiate with
Cooper? What are you talking about? Renegotiate with who?
Nick?
Well, they could. I mean, I think what they've seen this year.
I mean, even if he does or doesn't come back, they still need another running back.
Well,
Sure,
yeah,
but it's a bigger
not as much
priority
right.
if Chubb's not coming back.
Right. I think what they've seen this year, probably out of Jerome Ford, might bring them back to the table.
Yeah.
With Nick, I mean, Nick's not coming back on the contract he's under now. There's no way.
No.
But if you can strike something, renegotiate something, maybe you take another chance. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see Nick Chubb back here.
Go ahead, Mike. Number 2.
All right, number 2, the running game's been MIA. Joe Flacco has not in 4 games this year, and there's more than just what you see on the graphic, but in 4 games this year, he's already the Browns team leader in passing yards, attempts, and touchdowns this season. His 1,307 passing yards through 4 games, the most through 4 games in Cleveland Browns history. He broke a record held by Josh McCown by over 100 yards that was set back in 2015. He's averaging 326.8 passing yards per game of quarterbacks with at least 100 pass attempts. So you have to start essentially 2 or 3 games. He's averaging 27 more yards per game than number 2 on that list. Kirk Cousins is number 2, is also hurt, 291 yards per game. Since he's become the starter, he leads the NFL in passing yards. He's tied with Brock Purdy in most passing touchdowns. He leads the league in play-action passing yards, too. He has 677 yards off play action. Next on that list, Trevor Lawrence at 322, double any other quarterback in football off play action. This was just for fun. If you take his stats through 4 games and extrapolate them for an entire season, on pace for 5,555 yards, 42 touchdowns, and 29 interceptions. We can ignore the interceptions.
By the way, it's a disturbing trend here. For the second week in a row, you gave the total yardage, and the number you said was different than the number on the graphic. Last year was.
And I messed up the 7 and the 9 too. I've got a fat finger problem. That's a fat index finger problem.
Listen, McNuggets, and I'm not a hater when I say this.
The graphic's wrong. What I said was right. 1307.
I'm not a hater when I say this, but the last 3 weeks to me is an asterisk. I'm sorry, they are, because you went up against the 29th ranked pass defense, the 27th and the 25th. You better put up those type of numbers.
Well, those types of numbers are bonkers, but I understand your point.
You know what I'm saying.
I agree with you.
So, but the Jets, I don't know. Do you know what the Jets rank pass defense?
Second.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I got to know then. Yeah, this game will tell me everything I need to know, because at some point, if I'm playing up against the Browns, now it's a cat and mouse game that's going on. We've been sitting here talking about how the run game has been absolutely terrible, right? And they still run play action. Like, that's obviously, he just gave the stat. We lead the league. So at some point, some teams are going to say to themselves, we don't respect the run game. We're going to just play pass. And now the run game will start looking more effective, because now your linebackers will be loosened up because they're worried about the pass. So at some point, it's going to catch up. But until that happens, I need to see it against the number 2 passing ranked defense.
Since he left Baltimore before this year, Joe Flacco is 3-14 as an NFL starter.
Yeah,
3-14. And he's 3-1 in Cleveland. Like,
now he was on a really bad Jet team.
They had no line.
3-14. That's 1 year in Denver and a couple years with the Jets. I hope it continues, but like this is, it's kind of an anomaly what's happening here, right?
Of course it is.
So
it's crazy.
Enjoy it while it's here. Like, enjoy the ride.
Well,
but
the good
I don't know
news
how
is-
sustainable any of this is.
The
but
good
just
news is
enjoy it while it goes.
He needs to do it 2, 3, 6 more times.
6 more times.
He'll do it 6 more times. After
Unless
that,
they end up being-
he can go off the cliff after 6 games.
Unless they end up being the number 1 seed, then it's only 5 games.
Well, one can wish, but he got to do it. You didn't did it, Joe. They love you in Cleveland. I heard you talk about you went to a restaurant and they applauded you and your family as you
Why
walked
wouldn't they love him?
As they should.
If this thing go off a cliff, I'm just telling you.
You know what?
I'm telling you, it's not going to be great.
I just wrote it today. He is a folk hero in Cleveland forever. No matter what else happens.
I don't think so.
Oh, I do. He'll get the Rajay Davis treatment when he comes back, the Richard Jefferson and Channing Frye treatment when they come back, because there was no level of expectation when he got here. Just what he's delivered to this point, even if it ends badly, even if they're going to the playoffs, but if they lose in the first round, whatever, this guy is golden in Cleveland. It's crazy because he's a Raven, and Cleveland hates anything associated with Baltimore, but
not this guy.
No, not this guy.
Mike, number 3.
It helps to put up absurd numbers when you have Amari Cooper on the outside, who we know what he did, but to give a little extra context, his 265 receiving yards against Houston was the highest single-game total in the NFL this season. Also a new Browns single-game record. Since Week 10, he has 633 receiving yards. That is the most in the NFL. He set a new PFF record, according to Brad Esquire. 211 of his yards came through the air, meaning he didn't break off screens. That's the most PFF has ever recorded in terms of in-air receiving yards since the database started in 2006. And you see the 4 names on the bottom: Amari Cooper, Don Hudson, Marvin Harrison, and Marcus Colston. Do you guys have any idea what those 4 receivers have in common that no one else in NFL history has done? It's really tough to guess.
1,000 yards with multiple teams.
That's what I was going to say.
Marvin Harrison only played for the Colts.
They are the only 4 receivers in NFL history with at least 5 receiving touchdowns in each of their first 9 NFL seasons.
Wow.
So
that's it. That's
so
the whole
Mike
list.
Evans haven't done that?
Nope.
Randy Moss, Jerry Rice,
Nope.
Terrell
Those
Owens.
4. The only 4 to ever do it.
Maybe
With at
those
least
guys, like,
5
missed a year.
touchdowns?
At least 5 in their first 9 NFL
Because 5 doesn't
seasons.
sound like that.
They really don't. Well, not when you got 16,
Yeah, but what if
17
you
games.
get, those guys might have been hurt for a year. It's 1 year, you have 4. It's a weird season.
That's incredible.
That is a wild stat. And you don't even think of
Good for him,
Marquise Colston as like an all-time great receiver.
He had
good,
some great
He
years.
was.
a
I'm about
really
to
good
say he
player.
was like that with the Saints.
but not for that long, right? It didn't seem like that.
He
but I
was
guess
like
so.
their number 1 guy until Mike Thomas came.
I'm looking up Jerry Rice.
Who's their number 1 guy now?
Chris
Olave.
Olave, go Bucks.
All right.
Jerry Rice, real quick, because Jason asked. He had 3 in his first year.
Okay.
Who did?
So Jerry Rice only
So
had
it's
3
the
his first
rookie year
season.
that probably trips up some of those
Yeah.
guys.
All right, next up.
Yeah.
And this stat comes from Cody Suick, so I got to give Cody credit. But Myles Garrett, we talked about not having a sack in the last 4 weeks. However, in that last 4-game stretch, he has 28 quarterback pressures. That's the most in the NFL. He has a 31.6 pass rush win rate. That is the best pass rush win rate in the NFL. He has the second highest PFF pass rush grade at a 92.6 over the last 4 weeks. And threw this in there just for fun because TJ Watt has 3 sacks during that span. He's getting double-teamed half as often as Myles Garrett. So despite the fact Myles is not actually sacking the quarterback himself, he is still generating pressure and getting the quarterback to move off his spot as frequently, if not more frequently, than any other defensive end.
I want
in the
one more
entire
stat
NFL.
with that. Holds to flags thrown.
That'd be
By the way,
I have to go
Randy
through
Moss,
and find that.
5 or more touchdowns in 12 of his first 13 years, but in his 9th year he only had 3. Sorry, Mike. The Myles Garrett thing is a real conundrum in terms of defensive player of the year. He was putting up huge sack numbers early, right? And it comes down to who's voting on this. If you look and what you think of, all these new statistics, right? PFF grades and what has he got there? Pressure rates. And some people look at all these new stats and go, oh, who cares about it? There are some people that vote on this that all they look at is sacks and interceptions.
I think those people are fewer.
I think they're fewer now. But Myles Garrett at this point on the traditional numbers is significantly behind TJ Watt and a couple other guys in the traditional numbers. Now, if you look at the advanced analytics, he's clearly the best player. But he hasn't gotten to the quarterback down the stretch of the season.
Well,
and that carries some weight.
He going to get to him tomorrow, I'll tell you that. I can definitely see him.
Do you think he'd win the award right now?
What?
Defensive Player of the Year.
Should he win the award?
No, would he? I mean, you could say should he. I'm saying should he? Will he? right now if they were voting?
I don't know if there's another candidate that I feel great about.
And,
Him and Micah Parsons are the two Vegas favorites at the moment. If that gives you any sway one way or the other.
Watt has the most sacks. I think Trey Hendrickson's second in sacks.
Hendrickson and Danielle Hunter tied. Second.
Yeah, and those teams are all mediocre.
I think he should win defensive player of the year. Yes, I think he should.
I agree with that, too.
I'm not sure he's going to. It depends how many voters there are. I agree with you that he is the best player.
Yeah.
This idea that he has to win because he's the best player and the best defense, I don't agree with that. But because it's an individual award, it's not a team award. But I do think you're right. I think there are less and less.
That's why Nick Bosa won last year.
Well, I'm not.
He was the best
Whether
player
it
on the
happened or
best
not,
defense.
I'm saying I don't believe in that.
Oh, okay.
I don't personally believe in
Okay.
that. But it just depends how many people are still old school and there's still a lot of people out there, Jason, that like when it comes to analytics, they're like, give me a break.
Oh, by
Those
the
are
way.
made up stats.
Especially
which is
in
stupid.
the NFL has been the least embracive of all the sports, I think.
No doubt.
In the analytics.
Right.
But-
Does Tony Grossi pay attention to analytics?
I think.
I know Mary Kay does, but
Yeah.
I don't know that Tony Grossi does. I think he kind of,
Probably
scoffs at
less.
some of that stuff.
Probably less than.
Because he's an older guy.
Yeah.
And these older guys, they're like, what is that nonsense? It's made up stats. Well, all these stats were made up at one point.
Right. Right. No, I think there's some stats I do roll my eyes at, and there's others I think that there's a lot of validity to them. The ones Mike had on the board, I think there's a lot of validity to.
Yeah,
all
put
of
up those again, Mike.
I mean, that's
The
his
Myles
case.
Garrett ones?
Yeah,
please.
That's his resume right there. Now that's just the last 4 games,
Yeah.
but that's really when the sacks kind of disappear.
Pressures.
I'd be curious in his.
What's a DT rate?
Double team.
Double team.
Oh,
double
double
team
team rate.
I'd be
Yeah, I
curious.
mean, he's being double teamed twice as often as J. Watt.
But I'd like to see those numbers over the course of the season. You know.
I can find those for you. Just give me a sec.
I mean, you
Oh,
don't,
this
you
is
don't
just the
have
last
to. This
4
is just the
games.
last 4
Okay.
games. But I'm just saying, like, if those numbers for the year track anything like
Right.
that,
They do. Here, spoiler.
But like pass
they do.
rush win rate. Pass rush win rate. What does that mean exactly?
If he
beat
beats
the dude.
his, yeah, if he beats
So
his,
what's the difference? So if you get a pressure, that's a win?
Yes.
Tyvus can do a better job
And
explaining
like
it than I can.
don't you have to win in a certain amount of time?
No, not necessarily. Well, you talking about for the
Like if the
for
offensive
pass
li-
rush grade,
Right, like if the
I mean, that's
offensive
when
lineman blocks you for 3 seconds and then you get past him at the 3.5 second mark, well, that shouldn't be a win.
I agree with that.
Probably get
I
a
agree
pressure,
with
but
that.
not a pass rush win.
Yeah, I mean,
I think it's when you turn.
and
the
that's
tape.
why some people are like, well, we don't even understand these stats. What do they mean?
I think
But
when
go
you,
ahead,
when
Mike.
you turn the tape on, if you
Yeah.
look at Myles and say go, and he beat his dude, but the running back slide over, that's still a win for Myles because he beat the tackle. So
right,
that's a
yes.
pass rush win.
Yes.
2 things real quick. So
Yeah.
you asked for, according to PFF, total pressures this season that combines quarterback hits, hurries, pressures, and sacks. Micah Parsons leads the NFL with 97. Myles is 6 with 77. So there's a 20
that's significant.
pressure difference. Sacks, TJ Watt has the most. We know that. Quarterback hits, he's top 5. And in total hurries, he's tied with Josh Allen for 5th. Parsons is 1st. So, I mean, he's in the top 5. He trends. Also,
Yeah.
real quick before we get to our next one, Russell Wilson just got benched.
I
Jared
saw
Stidham
that.
Start,
So-
we have another
so-
starter.
We
Whoa!
Jared
Whoa!
Stidham.
Whoa!
and
We have
Brissett.
Jared Stidham starting for the Broncos. We have Jacoby Brissett now starting for Washington. And we
Wait
have
a
Tyrod
minute.
Taylor starting
Wait a minute.
for the Giants.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Who? Say that again. Who got benched?
Your boy,
No. Wait a minute. A couple weeks ago,
Russell Wilson.
Oh, Davis. I think you're wrong about him. Oh, he's
call it?
He's playing some great football. I mean, he's a really good
He
quarterback.
was earlier
You
in the
tell
year.
me. You say he's mediocre. He's
Hey, listen.
a really good quarterback, Davis.
if a percentage of our fan base could con themselves into believing Deshaun Watson was fixed before he got hurt, then I could tell you Russell Wilson was playing well, which he was.
Last stat, and then we'll bring Mary Kay, and I just texted
Yeah.
her to make sure she's going to join us. But
Yeah.
we talked about the Jets' defense. Tyvus, you wanted to see Joe Flacco do something against a top-notch pass defense. In terms of fewest yards allowed in coverage this season, Jalen Johnson of the Bears is number 1. Number 2, Michael Carter. the Jets slot cornerback. Number 3, Sauce Gardner, the Jets outside cornerback. Number 9, DJ Reed, the other Jets outside cornerback.
Shout out my boy
Carter
Dennis.
grades out as the best slot cornerback in football. He allows a reception, 1 out of every 17 pass coverage snaps in the slot. So they're not even looking his way. Not that the Browns have a massive slot threat anyway, but just know that Michael Carter got to watch on Thursday night.
Well, let me
Not
ask you
a lot.
this,
And the
Mike.
Browns throw the ball more than any other team in football over the last 3 weeks outside of Jacksonville. So.
Earlier, Tyvus diminished what Joe Flacco has done.
I didn't diminish it.
Yes, you did.
I said I put an asterisk by it.
Well, that's
that's
diminishing.
I guess it is.
And
Yes, it
where are
is.
you getting like these rankings? Is that based on yardage?
Yeah,
That's yardage, yeah.
Those are nonsense rankings.
I
What are
agree.
the real rankings on the teams the Browns have played against?
I mean, none of them rank particularly high in like EPA.
The Bears are bad
The Bears are very good against the run, not so great against the pass.
in EPA.
EPA, yeah. Jaguars not good against the pass. The Texans, their numbers are good. They were missing a bunch of guys. This will be the first full test, but the Jets are susceptible to giving up runs. They're not a great rush defense. Very good pass defense. So it's kind of backwards.
Well, it'll be interesting. It's strength against strength right now, and then weakness against weakness. So we'll see what the game plan is. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm not putting an asterisk next to anything. You're playing
either, for the
NFL
record.
teams. They're not terrible teams. And 1 or 2 bad games can put some of the numbers that can take you from being bad to being middle of the pack. The Bears are a decent team. So is Jacksonville, and so is Houston. So I'm not diminishing what Joe Flacco did.
No, take it and run with it.
Yeah.
But I think you do have to acknowledge the level of competition that he's playing against, and there's a difference
Sure.
in the top and the bottom.
Agreed.
So I'm just looking
This
at
is a tougher test. I
Yeah,
agree.
it's a tougher test, and I'm just looking at the totality of it. He hadn't been good in 10 years. And I just think you need to recognize that and acknowledge that.
Of course, this is crazy.
Yeah. And that's all I think
Yeah.
Tyvus is doing, and that's all I'm doing. Like, hey, man, you're playing with house money. Keep betting. Like, enjoy
Yeah.
it. Enjoy it
Weird
however long
things
it
are
lasts.
happening this year.
But I think you just also have to acknowledge that there's a much stiffer test ahead than what they've seen so far.
Agreed.
Defensively.
Yes. Mary Kay's with us. Go ahead, Mike.
Let's bring in Mary Kay, and Mary Kay today is brought to us by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. As the weather gets colder, the NFL offers stay red hot on FanDuel, and right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action than right now. The app is easy to use, and there's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and much, much more. So visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL, and Mary Kay Cabot now joins us fresh off the press. Amari Cooper is the AFC Offensive Player of the Week, and she has an article on Cleveland.com you should go read after you listen to this interview. What's up, Mary Kay?
Hey, how you guys doing?
We're doing well. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. And that not much of a competition there, Mary Kay, for Offensive Player of the Year, I'd say. When Amari Cooper
No.
goes
Player of the
to
week.
260 Player of the Week.
Yeah, Player of the Week, and good for Amari. That was so much fun to watch. To be there in person, to talk to him after that, and see how excited he was. Sometimes he doesn't show a whole lot of emotion in interviews, but he just couldn't help but smile and just be very jovial and crack some jokes after that. And it was a lot of fun.
This passing game, we've been talking about it. I mean, who could have expected this? Jason just said it. He hasn't played well in 10 years. And Flacco's playing fantastic football right now. He's been amazing. But they haven't been able to run the ball. Is this just such a wacky season that maybe it can continue? Or are you worried that eventually the clock is going to strike midnight here and Joe Flacco is going to revert to what he'd been for the last bunch of years?
Well, we'll have to see. It all depends on the matchups. It depends on who they draw in the playoffs. Now, when I look ahead to him having to face the Baltimore Ravens, and you see what Jadeveon Clowney is doing, and Roquan Smith, and Justin, whose name I don't want to try to pronounce right at this moment, Matabike or something.
Matabike.
There we go. I think that could be a very difficult out because they are down to their 4th and 5th tackles, and that could be really tough, especially if it's on the road. But for now, I think Joe has just been tremendous. Now, as I say that, they have to face a very good Jets defense on Thursday night, and it's going to be a lot tougher to go out there and accomplish what he has accomplished over the last few weeks against a defense like this. These guys are really good. They're good in the back end. They're good up front. They've got the number 2 pass defense in the NFL. So, we'll have to see how this goes. I think that's the thing that could cross them up as they move forward, is being down to their 4th and 5th tackles.
Mary Kay, when you look at this game, obviously there's a lot of history, you should say. Last year, obviously, the 2-minute drive, the 2-minute situation that happened, Joe Flacco going back to play the Jets after they didn't call him back, Elijah Moore going back to play his former team. How much of that do you think plays a part into this game?
Oh, it does. It definitely does. Guys always have a little extra for their former team. Elijah even admitted that yesterday. And then Joe, I mean, there's no way Joe is going to admit that to us in an interview. But I will tell you what, I mean, he was sitting there on his mother's couch watching football with the kids running around in South Jersey. And the New York Jets, when Aaron Rodgers went down on the 4th play of the game, never bothered to call him. And that has to hurt. That has to stick in his craw, because he had been with that team for 3 years. He knew the system. He knew the scheme. And all they had to do was pick up the phone and call. And if they had done that, then who knows? The Jets could be the team in the playoffs right now, or having one of the playoff seeds right now, and the Browns could be on the outside looking in. So it worked to the Browns' advantage, and I think he might be able to dig deep and find a little extra something for those Jets on Thursday night.
Mary Kay, I want to go big picture for a minute. When you look at the success that Joe has had this year running Kevin's system, and particularly in the play action, what do you think Deshaun thinks when he looks at this? And is this any sort of motivation for Deshaun to more or less do it Kevin's way and get under center a little bit more? He's obviously been strictly a shotgun quarterback for most of his career, but seeing the success of this offense, running it this way, do you think that is any indication to Deshaun that, hey, I need to give this a chance because this has now evidence that it can work?
Well, I think that Kevin can call anything for any kind of a quarterback, and I think that Deshaun can run anything that anybody would ever ask him to do. So I think you really want to play to the strengths of your QB, and that's what they're doing right now. They're playing to Joe Flacco's strengths, and I don't think it necessarily matches up so much better with Kevin than Deshaun did. I think a lot of people seem to want to make that point, but I don't think it's that. It was a small sample size that Kevin had with Deshaun Watson in terms of running the kind of offense that was going to be best suited to him. And the year was just messed up by his shoulder injuries, both of them. So I don't think that, there was any kind of a disconnect between how Kevin might want to call the game for Deshaun Watson and what Deshaun Watson can do. In terms of Joe Flacco, Joe not only is running this offense that Kevin does have a lot of experience with, but it's the Gary Kubiak version of it, and he ran that in Baltimore. So they're speaking the same language. There's so much carryover in terms of terminology and scheme and concepts and things like that. So it's looking good, and and I think it will continue to look good. But I do think that Deshaun has shown some flashes of being pretty darn amazing in a Kevin Stefanski called offense as well, and we saw it in the second half of that Baltimore game where he went out there and he beat Baltimore. And if he hadn't done that, who knows? They might not be in the playoffs right now. So he had a 5-1 record. That, of course, includes the Colts game that PJ Walker came in and won. But he was off to a pretty decent start. And and I do think that the future still looks bright for Deshaun and Kevin together.
Mary Kay, I love you, but I disagree with you on that a little bit. I'm not convinced on him. I don't think he showed enough. I'm not writing him off, but I don't know. I mean, I know he played really great in that second half against the Raiders, but not against the Raiders, but against the Ravens. But he was terrible in the first half. I don't fully trust him yet, and I'm not convinced. And I think that the team. That Kevin Stefanski, as much as I love him, and I think he's the coach of the year, I think he prefers calling games this way, and that Watson is not as comfortable under center.
You know what? I just, once again, this is something that we will probably just agree to disagree on.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, Kevin has worked with so many different kinds of quarterbacks, and he has really educated himself to be able to call the kind of game that Deshaun Watson is going to excel in. And Deshaun hasn't had an opportunity to really spend very much time with this offense yet. Once again, I mean, all you have to do is, you have to just look at the record. The record is pretty good this year by him. There's no way they would be where they're at without the contribution that he made, including in the second half of that Ravens game, which I thought was a signature moment for him. I thought it was a signature half for him. And, some of the other stuff in the very beginning, you're still trying to figure out, okay, what are we doing with Elijah Moore? And what are we doing with, some of these other guys? What are we doing anymore with Donovan Peoples-Jones? So it was a work in progress, and they lost Nick Chubb very early on, and they were still in the regrouping stages, right? I mean, they hadn't figured that all out yet. They were still kind of going through their preseason. But I think Deshaun showed what he's all about in the second half of that Ravens game. To go into Baltimore and to be able to beat that football team that is now 12-3, I think that should, tell people what he's all about and what he's going to be able to do. So I know everybody kind of wants to write him off right now and just, say, forget about him and, let's roll with Joe Flacco. But that's just not really realistic for, a number of reasons, including the money. I mean, you just can't throw away $46 million a year over the next 3 years.
Completely agree with you there. I wanted to get your thoughts on the running game. You mentioned Nick Chubb getting hurt. Today's his birthday. We all wish him a happy birthday. We can't imagine, we're going to talk about this later, how good this team would be if they just had all the injuries, if they just had Nick Chubb right now. My God. When you look at the struggles of the running game, especially the last month where it's gotten really bad, is it more on the players they have at running back, or is it the offensive line, or is it really 50-50? What do you think?
It's probably a combination of all of the above, and that could really hurt them as they move forward. And they're going to run into some really, really excellent run defenses. They already have, and I think they're just going to have to continue to try to push the envelope on this and see what they can't continue to do by committee and with a shorter passing game. Use the screen games and use some of these other things. Try some reverses and some jet sweeps and other things to try to simulate a running game. I mean, they're doing the best that they can, but when you have a compromised and challenged offensive line like this, it's difficult. And it's interesting too, because I think they really believed that Jerome Ford was going to, light it up this year. And he hasn't really, for one reason or another, over the last several games. So I think those guys are all going to have to step it up. The blockers are going to have to step it up. They also lost, their ability to run that, that big personnel game that they were trying to do because of more injuries on the offensive line. So if they get back to doing some of that, I think they can kind of crank it up a little bit.
Mary Kay, how long have you been covering the Cleveland Browns?
Oh my gosh. I don't talk about them anymore.
No, I was
asking her how old she is.
No, because the reason being is because obviously it's a big game. I was going to ask about the atmosphere. I was going to ask, do you think that this is going to be the best atmosphere for the Cleveland Browns, or do you think never mind. Do you think this is going to be a great atmosphere?
I am totally teasing you and kidding you about that. I'm proud of the fact that I've been able to hang in there all of these years and cover this football team through all of the ups and downs and mostly losing. But I don't know, it's been somewhere around I was around for the late 80s championship game. So I know how exciting it is for fans to enjoy this kind of winning. And I think it's going to be a tremendous party on the lakefront on Thursday night if they clinch, and I think they will. And fans deserve it. They're going to go 8-1 at Cleveland Browns Stadium. I mean, how much fun is that for fans? So it's been great, and it does remind me again of those AFC Championship years and the Bernie Kosar years, and fans really deserve this.
Mary Kay, can I ask you a procedural question? So you get 2 practice squad elevations per week. If Bajorquez can't go, that would then be both the punter and the kicker, right? Do they have a 53-man move that they have to make this week? Or can they get away? I'm just wondering if someone's going to lose their roster spot because of all the injuries that they've had.
Yes.
But if PJ replaces DTR on the active roster, then if you elevate the punter and the kicker, those are your 2 practice squad elevations. Am I missing anything, or are they going to have to make a roster move this week?
Well, you know what? I haven't done all the math yet, but they are putting DTR on injured reserve, and so there might be another move or two that they can make like that. So they'll be able to make those elevations, and if they have to make another roster move, then there could be somebody that might get IR'd or something along those lines.
Are they going to have to bring in another quarterback for the practice squad? And who left it? Who is out there at this point in the season that's worth putting on practice squad?
Well, yeah, they're going to have to do that. I mean, I haven't checked, but I mean, maybe Kellen Mond is still out there. So yeah, they're going to have to do that. They need to bring somebody else in. They can't take this chance right now. And I did talk to DTR in the locker room yesterday. He was really down about the hip injury that has him out for at least the next 4 games. So yeah, they're going to need to bring someone else in.
Mary Kay, what does your gut tell you about Dustin Hopkins being available for the playoffs?
Oh, I think he'll be available for the playoffs.
Okay.
It's his plant leg. So I think that, with all the great modalities and all the treatment that they have, I think he'll be able to get back for the playoffs, at least some of them.
Ooh, thank you.
Good stuff, Mary Kay. Thank you for joining us. Happy New Year. We'll talk to you next week.
Sounds great. Thanks a lot, guys.
All right. Great
Thanks,
to
Mary
see
Kay.
Mary Kay. And, she's been covering the team a long time. Next time you'll ask her how old she is.
I wasn't
queen of
I
Cleveland
wasn't
media.
gonna ask her age. I was gonna ask her, was the
I know where you were
atmosphere
going.
gonna be better than
Trust me.
2002?
Yeah,
but
trust
I didn't
me.
want to
She
go
didn't-
there.
Trust me, she doesn't care.
I'm gonna. We had a little extra time here, right? So I'm gonna throw a grenade. I'm right now gonna throw a grenade.
You have a 5-minute grenade.
Here we go.
All right, and this is coming from me. This is insane that I'm
Oh
asking. this
God.
I'm so scared to hear.
But I'm
I'm scared to hear what he gonna say.
question, Jason and Tyvis.
Don't get me in trouble.
But I really want. I want to know your answer right now. Forget the money.
No, I'm not getting rid of Deshaun.
Forget the offs.
Not
Forget
getting
the off
rid of
the
Deshaun.
field.
No.
It's worse than that. This question.
Oh, really?
It's worse than just that.
You're gonna get
Forget the money. Forget the off field. Forget history. Forget all of it.
Yeah.
Would you rather have Deshaun Watson or Baker Mayfield on the Browns?
What's funny is I texted Earl and Ant yesterday, and I said I thought of the most diabolical question.
Is that
for the
it?
Playoff. It was along those lines.
Yeah.
But we'll save that for.
All right. What's your
when we
answer?
get
Right now?
I would.
For next year, who would you rather have?
Well,
Deshaun.
it's impossible to set all that stuff aside.
Deshaun.
You realize that.
but
But if
I'm
you're
gonna make you do it.
if you're comparing talent to talent,
Deshaun.
it's Deshaun. It's Deshaun. For sure.
Yeah.
Now,
This is a
if you
slam
want to
dunk.
put $230 million on the
Yeah,
table,
that
and
make it-
64
exactly,
million,
yeah.
and the injuries and everything else,
Yeah.
that's
That-
a different conversation. For what Baker's making compared to what Deshaun's making, but I mean, listen.
here's-
You and I were the conductors running Baker out
Yeah.
of town.
Here's-
I ain't turning that
Here's
train
the
around
thing.
now. I'm on Team Deshaun.
And here's why I asked. I'm sticking with Deshaun, but damn, it's a lot closer than I thought it should be. I thought it was going to be Deshaun and Baker.
Yeah.
And it's Deshaun and Baker.
Well, the thing for me is I never hated Baker. I never thought he was like a bum. Like
I never
people-
hated
You're
him.
Switzerland. You don't hate anything.
That's very well. You're right about
I
that.
found him very. I never thought he was a bum
What
as a
do-
player.
why didn't you
He
like
rubs
it?
me the wrong way.
Why?
He just does. There's a bunch of little things that rub me the wrong way.
I like. He had some stuff to him. I liked it.
But I didn't think he was good enough.
Apparently a lot of.
I didn't think he was a bum, but I didn't think he was good enough.
So let me
now,
ask
what's
you this.
interesting though,
And I still don't think.
See, that's what I was about to say. Do you think he's good enough now?
Okay, I'll answer that by saying things seem to have changed this year where you maybe don't have to have a great quarterback to win anymore. Now, I'm not sure it's changed. I know Jay is convinced of it. I'm not convinced yet.
I'm interested to see because I think they'll make the playoffs. I think they'll win the
Baker's
AFC.
playing well. By the way, according to PFF, and again,
Or the
whatever you
NFC
take it
South,
for whatever you
excuse
want, Joe Flacco has a better PFF grade on the season than Baker.
Anyway,
But Baker's traditional stats
what is his
are
numbers?
very strong.
What is his numbers this year, Baker?
If you-
let me look
He's
at
played
it.
very well,
26
especially the last
touchdowns,
couple of
8
weeks.
interceptions.
He's playing in a trash.
26 touchdowns and 8 interceptions.
But
I
he's
like
playing
that.
in a trash
He's
division.
playing in a trash division.
And I don't trust him in a big spot.
If I'm down, if my team is down 5 points with a minute and a half left.
I don't trust Baker.
And I can choose between Baker or Deshaun. It's not even close. I'm taking Deshaun every time.
Agreed.
I agree.
But I'm not convinced. What Deshaun did this year, there's a lot of people that are like, he was back. I'm not sure.
Well,
I don't know why you feel like
I'm not sure.
Is it because of the Ravens' first half?
It's because he never consistently played well, Tyvus. Never. Where's the consistency?
Wait, what's his last 3-4 games? They was pretty good.
No, he was terrible in the first half against Baltimore. He was terrific in the second half against Baltimore with a broken shoulder.
Yeah.
And the fact that
what did he play the game before that?
Arizona.
Oh, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
You're talking about asterisks.
The fact that the last vision we have of Deshaun is 14-14 against maybe the best team in the league on the road.
Yeah, that's
the last quarterback that has beaten Baltimore is Deshaun Watson. That's a pretty good taste to leave in people's mouths.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. You can't only look at that. Has he done enough to say that he's back and the contract is worth it and all that? No, I don't think you could say that. But I think he's shown enough glimpses this year to make you think that it's still in there.
I liked where he was going.
Yes.
I liked it. I
Yes.
thought he was trending in the right direction.
Yeah.
But he hadn't got – what's happened is, in my opinion, he was trending in the right direction. And some people have now turned that into he was back.
Right.
He wasn't back.
Yeah,
he was trending.
14 for
He was trending
14 against one of the
That's
best
one
defenses.
half of football, Davis.
That's all you need.
That's one half of
Hey,
football.
no. It's
That
not.
doesn't mean you're
it's
back.
not just one half. It was the closing game, the closing half
Right.
of a game,
Right.
which a lot of people don't have.
And here's the
it's
thing.
like only 5-6 quarterbacks
I
that
hear
can
you.
do
In the
that.
end, that's why I'd stick with him over Baker. But
Okay.
It shouldn't even be as close as it is, though.
It ain't that
Never
close.
thought
It
was.
ain't close to
I got to
me.
put this on the record real quick
Yeah.
because I've heard this a couple of times. How
Yeah.
can you guys kill Deshaun for a bad half of football, but you excuse Joe Flacco's
That's
good?
a stupid question.
Please.
But here's the
That's a
difference.
terrible question.
No, it ain't.
Here's the
Completely
no, it
terrible
ain't.
question.
No,
Here's
it's
the
not.
difference. $230 million versus a
Man.
no, I'm serious.
Roll it.
No,
Roll
when you
it.
have a
Okay.
$230 million contract, you have a higher expectation than a league minimum guy that's sucked for the last 10 years.
He's getting
Tyvus,
four-
it's about
he's
the
getting
expectation.
$4 million.
Tyvus,
He ain't getting $4
Deshaun
million.
Watson came in as a superstar. Joe Flacco came in as a washed-up bum veteran.
So the expectation
What
is
do you
significantly lower.
get? What do you get there?
But ultimately,
Yeah.
Flacco played really well when they needed him to, and Deshaun in the second half against Baltimore was dynamite.
He was.
Go ahead,
All right,
Mike.
Go ahead, Mike.
We're going to get to the Kool-Aid meter in one sec, but as always, even on a Thursday night game, we will have a post-game show. It starts with a 2-minute warning on Thursday night. We'll go for an hour, as long as it needs to celebrate what we hope will be a Browns victory. If somehow they lose to the Jets, it'll be a therapy session, but Thursday night be damned. We will be live after the game, starting at the 2-minute warning. Myself, Earl, and G with your 2-minute
Maybe
post-game
G.
show.
He's a
Maybe
mess
G,
right
assuming
now.
his voice is back and cooperating. Okay. We're going to do the Kool-Aid meter, guys. We're
Yes.
going to do the what-if Kool-Aid meter. And how this is going to work is I will give everybody a question, a what-if question based on the Browns' 2023 season. The baseline is 5. Then you have to tell us where the Kool-Aid meter would be, whether higher or lower, if the what-if had either never
it.
happened or
Got it.
if it had went a different way. And, Bull, you're up first. Bull,
Yes.
what if Nick Chubb never got hurt this season?
My all-time favorite Cleveland Browns player, by the way, is Nick Chubb. He's my favorite player in the history of Browns football. And let me tell you something. The Browns would be 15-0 right now. 15-0, thank you. 10! 10! The Kool-Aid meter would be a 10. I'd be like Quincy last year with the great chance of 6-0. I'd be like G. Bush, who thinks the Browns are going to win every week.
Earl,
I'd be
5-0.
like Earl 5-0, which is looking pretty good right now. I'd be like all of them, even more. Even more. The Browns would be 15. Now they wouldn't be 15-0. They'd be 14-1. I'm exaggerating a little bit. 14-1. If this team had Nick Chubb, who is the best, second best running back in football, only behind McCaffrey, forget about it. Forget about it. Forget about it. This team, I mean, can you imagine, guys, if this team had Nick Chubb?
I tell you what,
Which game did they lose?
They would have lost the Ravens game
At home?
when DTR played that game.
Yeah.
That's it. They would have won every other game.
I actually don't disagree with this statement.
The Browns would be the number one. They would be the number 1 seed in the AFC.
Who was our
with
loss?
Nick Chubb.
Pittsburgh, where he got hurt.
Pittsburgh even got hurt.
Baltimore.
But they should have never lost anyway.
Seattle. They probably win Seattle with
They
Chubb.
because they run the ball third.
And then Denver.
Denver and the Rams. I don't know if they
Rams.
win both of those.
Yeah.
All right, let's say they lose one of those and they lose the Ravens.
So
game.
13-2.
They could be 13-2 now,
give them 3
legitimately. With Nick Chubb, they're and they would have won the last. They would have won 14 games this year. 15 games. Who the hell knows?
I'd give you 3 losses. I could get behind
14-3 for the season.
No, 12-3 right now.
Right, but they win the last 2. If they have Chubb, you pick them to lose either of these games?
No
chance.
Yeah, they finished
So
14.
Even Jason agrees they could be 14-3 with Nick
I
Chubb,
could get behind
number
that.
1 seed in the AFC, and even we all think they can win the Super Bowl. They'd have an even better chance.
Well, the one thing about having Nick Chubb back there is he makes people miss. That was the best thing.
Better than anybody, and he breaks tackles better than anybody.
Exactly. So even though the line is not great, or with all the injuries, he'd still be effective because that's how he operates.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think that's the one key thing that we
I
missed.
said it when he got hurt. He turns a 1-yard loss into a 2-yard gain.
Yeah.
And you don't necessarily appreciate that or notice that in the moment. But 2nd and 8, 3rd and 4 is a whole lot different than 2nd and 11, 3rd and 7. It changes the playbook completely.
It does.
And what you can call.
Right.
And that is the beauty. That is the understated beauty of Nick that they've desperately needed. Because on this team, a 1-yard loss is a 3-yard loss.
Yeah.
If Nick can get you 3, they're losing 3. They're losing 2 or 3.
God,
Yeah,
And that's the difference.
it would be
hope he come
unbelievable.
back,
The
man.
guy is just an absolute stud.
I pray.
hope he's able to come back and be good next year. And it's an absolute 10 because the Browns would be the best team in the AFC right now. I have no doubt about that. I already think they're 2nd or 3rd best in the AFC. They'd be number 1 with him, I think.
We went to war last summer about the future of Nick Chubb.
Yeah.
And I think this season, more than anything, has shown
No doubt.
his value.
100%.
And we both, I think, diminished it a little bit.
Yeah.
And thought, it's running backs are plug and play in the NFL, and no, it's not going to be as good as Nick Chubb, but you can still get average output.
Yeah.
And they've proven this year that they haven't gotten average output with the guys that they have.
Part of that is the offensive line is a lot worse at run blocking than we thought it would be. And that's when you need a guy like Nick Chubb to overcome the deficiencies of this line because he's been the best his entire career. Better than McCaffrey, better than Derrick Henry, better than anybody at making the first guy miss.
Yeah.
And when you have a shaky offensive line for a running game, that's huge. Go ahead.
Tyvis, you're up next. And remember, the baseline's at 5, and you tell us where they'd be if this what if never happened.
Okay.
Or if it did happen. And in this case, it's if it did. Tyvis, what if Kevin Stefanski caved to the fans and let AVP start calling the plays? Where would the Browns be if that was the case?
God, Tyvis is horrified by that thought, right?
Because it's something that's funny. I think I give it a 3.5, maybe 4, 3.5, something like that.
3.5.
All right, so this is the thing. I think this season, over the course of this season, has told you that Kevin Stefanski obviously knows what he's doing. All these different injuries, all these different quarterbacks, and he's still finding a way to put points up on the board and win games. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying AVP can't do that. We don't know, because we know it's Kevin Stefanski calling the plays. What I'm saying is it's much more difficult. If you give the same circumstances to anybody else outside of Kevin Stefanski, if you gave it to AVP, I don't know he handles it the same way. The only thing we got to go off of is AVP handled the COVID game when he had Nick Mullins, and it came down to the end, right? Am I right when I say that?
Nick Mullins? No, AVP was the play caller for
but he also
playoff game against the Steelers for the Browns.
But he also did one for Nick Mullins, too, right?
They
played
Kevin
Oakland.
missed another game against
They played the Raiders.
Right.
And so we got those 2 games to go off, but he, in the playoff game, obviously he had a healthier team. With the Raiders, he didn't have his starting quarterback. That's why I'm going off of that one. And they ended up losing that game. It was a close game. He did have Nick Chubb, but I just think that it wouldn't be the same. I'm not. I think fans have finally got over that Kevin Stefanski need to give up play call.
Yeah, right.
I do the
For
Browns
now, he'll
radio,
come back.
and I ain't heard it in at least.
But
the last time I heard it was the Seattle game.
by the way, Browns,
Next time they lose, you'll hear it
next
again.
time they lose, you hear it again. If they lose in the first round of the playoffs,
They're not gonna say that.
all the people that have been quiet on
They're not gonna say
Stefanski will kill him if they lose in the first round. See, the only playoff game you won was with Alex Van Pelt in the COVID year.
They're not gonna
That's happening 100%.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
100%.
They're not gonna say that.
Yeah,
No, they
Oh,
don't.
yes, they are.
You know better, Tyvus.
I'll
You
show
know
you
it's
my
happening.
mention sometime.
All right, Jason's up.
Jason, you're up next, and you have back-to-back ones, Jason. But first, and remember, it starts at a 5. What if the Browns never cut Kade York?
This is hard. This was a hard one because I said it's a 3 out of 10 on the disaster meter.
Wow.
But here's the thing. I don't think Kade York survives the season anyway. It's not like everyone would have been fired if you keep this kicker who keeps missing kicks. You know what I mean? Like, really, I think that missed extra point in the preseason game against Kansas City is really kind of what sealed his fate here.
Yeah.
Or else maybe he starts the year here, and as soon as he starts missing some kicks, they probably cut him then. But if you want to play out, for the sake of argument, if Kade York was still the kicker today, I mean, the Browns probably have 3 or 4 less wins than they do, right?
Yeah, no doubt.
They don't beat San Francisco with Kade York. They probably don't beat Indy with Kade York. Like, Hopkins has made so many big kicks that and listen, I was big on, like, I liked the drafting of Kade York. I stuck with him as long as possible. But by the end of the preseason, it became evident like they couldn't keep him.
No.
So I don't think even had they been so stubborn to say we believe in him, we're going to start the season with him. As soon as he missed a kick or two in the regular season, I think they would have moved on.
But it
from
might
him
have
at that
cost
point.
him a game or
It
two
could have
by the
cost
time
him-
it happened.
Yes, it could have cost him an early game. One of those games that they won early on.
All right, Mike.
Jason, you ready for your next one?
I'm ready.
This is similar to Bull's first one, but what if Deshaun Watson never got hurt? That means no Flacco, but you have Deshaun. So where would the Browns be on the Kool-Aid meter if Deshaun Watson, QB1, never gets hurt?
This goes back to the grenade that Bull threw on us 15 minutes ago. I'm calling it an 8. An 8 out of
All
10
right.
on the Kool-Aid meter.
Yeah.
Because I do think, again, I'm not ready to throw my hands up and say all is solved, everything is fixed, everything is fine. But his record as a starter is impressive. Deshaun's record as a starter here, they won games with him. It wasn't always pretty, but he more or less got the job done. The second half against Baltimore, you got to put a lot of stock in that. Again, 14 of 14 on the road against the best team in the NFL right now was really impressive. And to do it with a broken shoulder was really good. Right there you see his last 3 games, 70% more or less completion percentage, 5 touchdowns, 1 interception, 3-0 record. That's pretty doggone good. You're going to take that. Was it perfect? No, it wasn't perfect. Did he show you enough to make you think that it's still in there? Yeah, he did. He showed me that. So, with Deshaun, they beat Seattle. He's not throwing it off a player's helmet in Seattle. I think they win that game. What happens in Denver and L.A., I don't know. But I think that they have a better record today with Deshaun. Had Deshaun been the quarterback all year, I think they have a better record than they do right now.
I don't disagree. I think that the problem was that it took maybe a couple more games than people had anticipated. Everybody thought that after the 6 games last year, they come into this season and they just be clicking on all cylinders, and that just wasn't the case. And I think Mary Kay brought up a good point where she was like, we was all fooled. You think about this off season and training camp. You got this whole package with Elijah Moore, and then we get into the season and it doesn't work. So now you got to scram all right, we got to scrap that whole thing, and I'm just saying that's a part of the offense.
So why has it worked so quickly for Flacco then?
What do you mean?
He hadn't been with the team at all. He's here for 2 weeks, and the offense is moving better than it ever has.
I don't necessarily think that's the truth. I think that he does a great job of going through his progressions and hitting the guys. Because it's like I said, it's Kevin Sting. He said, like I said, I listened to him say, he said, Kevin Stefanski draws up the plays and I just execute the play.
Yeah.
So they're winning their matchups. And then on top of that, Amari Cooper's having these big games. With Deshaun Watson, he still had good games. The only people that's coming alive more is you see a Cedric Tillman come in there.
And Tillman's more opportunity.
Yeah.
But wait a second, Tyvus. Since Flacco's taken over, Amari Cooper has the most receiving yards in the league.
Bull, and it goes back to my point.
Yeah.
Since Joe Flacco's taken over, they've been playing the 29th, the 27th, and the 25th defense. When Deshaun Watson played one of the worst pass defenses against the Tennessee Titans, he almost threw for 300 yards. What are you talking about?
Okay, but that's one game.
That's the only game he played a terrible passing defense, too.
Is the Bengals passing defense good?
I'd have to go look. I don't have this off the top of my head.
Defense
But
is not very
they
good.
played
I
the
don't know what-
Cardinals' passing defense, which was porous, and he had a pretty good game in his first game back.
What's that?
The Cardinals' defense was pretty porous,
Yeah.
and he had a pretty good game. That was his first game since
But,
injury.
God, nobody's going to argue that this offense isn't playing better now than it was with Watson, no?
I would argue that they was more balanced with Watson.
They were running it better.
But
For
how
other
is that
reasons.
Flacco's fault?
It's not.
It's not, but I'm just
But
saying.
they're also turning the ball over more now than Deshaun was.
That's true, yeah.
Well, that's not true. Deshaun's Flacco has 10 touchdowns, 8 turnovers.
Yeah. So
I
Watson
thought
8 touchdowns, 6 turnovers. I mean, it's basically the same.
It's close. It's close.
Deshaun got 8 touchdowns, 6
So
turnovers?
Rushing and
do you
and
feel
passing
feel more comfortable with Joe Flacco running the offense, or would you rather have Deshaun Watson right now?
I mean, I guess in the end, I'd still
It's no
I'd
debate.
still
I
rather
mean,
have
I'm about to say,
it's
I
no
don't know
debate.
why you sitting there thinking about this.
because the guy is playing extremely well, is he not?
He
I'm being prisoner of the moment.
Who
I agree with
is?
you.
He,
Flacco.
He's playing well. Yeah, he's playing well.
I mean, listen.
I just think it's magic beans, and I don't know how much. I think Deshaun it's more sustainable than Flacco.
But where Deshaun hasn't played at a sustainably high level
All
in 3
I need-
years.
Flacco hasn't played sustainably high level in 10 years.
But he's done it here.
My question
He's
is,
doing it right now.
all of my
No, he wasn't.
all
He
of
wasn't.
my questions will get answered
Yeah.
tomorrow night. I'm telling you right now. If
Okay.
he goes out there and throw 300 yards tomorrow night, I will come in here on next Tuesday and
Yeah.
stamp that man. But until then, I can't.
I mean,
it's hard for me to do it. It's hard.
I see. I don't want to be Switzerland, but I hear what you're both saying. I think there's merit to both of it. But if I have to pick right now between a healthy Deshaun Watson or Joe Flacco,
That's
I'm
not-
taking Deshaun
Well,
Watson
that's
10
not
times out of
debatable.
10.
but Flacco has played better this year than Watson.
Why do you keep saying that?
He has. What has Watson done better? They've played about the same amount at this point.
One was against some decent defenses, though.
If that's the
I tell
case-
you, I don't think.
If that's the case, then why does Flacco have a better PFF grade?
Because you're the
I
only
don't, because you're the only person that pay attention to them. That's why.
Certainly not. Otherwise, it wouldn't be as popular.
Nobody
as it
cares
is.
about no. We
Okay,
they are dead to
Flacco's
me.
got more touchdowns.
You can never come to me and
Flacco's
talk
got more
about no damn
touchdowns and more
PFF.
passing yards.
Deshaun has.
fact.
Deshaun
Who
has.
has he did it against?
Well,
If he, like I
when
said,
you say who
Bull,
he did it against,
if
I
he-
give you the PFF grade,
Bull,
and you dismiss that.
Bull, if he comes out
Yeah.
here this game and throws for 300 yards against the Jets,
Yeah.
you can tell me on Tuesday that what you just said, and I will be
Obviously,
behind.
I'd rather have Watson going forward.
No, but I'm saying
Because
you're talking about statistically wise in 3
Yes.
games. 3 games of Deshaun, 3 games versus Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco's is better. That's what you're saying. Statistically.
It's 4 games. but-
Whatever. You're saying
Flacco, it's 5. Watson's 5 games and Flacco 4.
Whatever.
Yes.
But you're saying statistically Joe is
Flacco's
better.
yes.
And I'm telling you, if I had went up against that terrible passing defense, I think I'd throw for almost the same amount of yards. The same. I think Deshaun would have did the same thing.
Where are the Steelers a really good pass defense?
Oh, my
I mean, besides the Ravens, who's this great pass defense they've gone against? Maybe it's the Steelers. I
The
don't know.
Steelers is decent. I know they're middle of the pack.
They're not
Yeah.
bottom of the barrel. It's 32 teams. 29, 27, 25.
Yeah, but Flacco has thrown for 1,300 yards.
He also throwing it for 40 times a game, too.
That's a negative in a way. At
No,
least
it's not.
Watson had a running game.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. It benefits Watson to have a running game.
It would no, because Joe Flacco has to throw for 300 yards because that's the only thing they can do.
Tyvus, Flacco's averaging more yards per completion. So this idea that he's just got more yards because he's got way more yards per completion
I
He
wanna-
than
leads
Watson
the
did.
NFL in air yards per attempt and completion right now.
I mean, there's no.
They're running a completely different offense.
That's what
too.
I'm saying. Like they was running the ball.
And he had Nick Chubb for 1.5 of his 5 games.
But you would rather have Deshaun than
Don't
Flacco.
do that. Don't do that.
Going forward, yes.
Yeah,
And
okay.
in the end, yes. If I knew he was good, if I knew he was healthy, I'd still rather have him.
And Deshaun
But-
brings a completely different element to the
but
offense.
Flacco's played better this year. That's all I'm saying. He's
I don't
played
know that
better.
I don't know that I agree with that. But Deshaun also brings another element.
I gotta
being
say-
able to move out of the pocket.
I'm gonna
being
find
able,
out tomorrow.
Being as mobile as he is, being able to run it. Although
Yeah.
that's what got him injured. I acknowledge that.
Yeah.
But he just brings a different dynamic to the offense. There's no debate for me. Who would you rather have, Deshaun Watson or Joe Flacco? I'd take Deshaun every day.
If you could have Deshaun Watson or Nick Chubb back right now, who'd you take?
Nick Chubb.
Nick Chubb.
We're at least all in agreement there.
We
Go ahead.
got 2 more here. Tyvis, you're up next.
Oh yeah, I remember this question. Go ahead.
What
You know
if-
what's funny, excuse me real quick, about
Yes.
this whole thing, is that I have always not as a person, but as a player, I have always hated Joe Flacco until this year.
Really?
Hated him. Never thought he was that good. Always thought he was was just happened to be on the right team. I've never defended the guy once in my life until now, which is really amazing.
He's
but
never got an MVP vote. He never played in a Pro Bowl.
Nope.
I said it on
Neither
the
did Watson.
Monday show.
Watson never got an MVP vote either.
Wait a minute, Joe Flacco never been in the Pro Bowl?
Never been. He was
No,
invited
never been
one
to a Pro
time and
Bowl.
he passed in 2014.
Travis, I said it on Monday's show. This is the best 3-game stretch he's ever had in his regular season career. Regular season.
So Kevin
career.
Stefanski is the quarterback whisperer.
Maybe.
Roll it.
All right, Ty, you're up next. The Browns had a 3rd-round draft pick this year, and they took one Cedric Tillman. But what if the Browns had drafted Puka Nacua instead with that pick?
Okay, I gave this an 8. The only reason I didn't give it a 10 is because because of the way that this question was worded. Okay, so let me tell you why it's an 8 and not a 10. If it was Puka Nacua that we see today, it'd be a 10. But the problem is the Browns have not done a really great job of developing wide receivers. Obviously, we've seen them draft 3 in the 3rd round, and they have not amounted to anything. So with that being said, I have to take into consideration that we have to develop Puka Nacua. See, that Puka Nacua is the Rams version of Puka Nacua. They've done a great job of developing him and making him what he is. With the Cleveland Browns, we don't have a great track record, so I'm going to say he wouldn't be the exact Puka Nacua that he is today, but I do like him better than where everybody else that would be on his talent compared to everybody else is on the Cleveland Browns roster outside of Amari Cooper. So that's why I give it an 8. What do y'all think of that?
I think you make good points. I really don't disagree with anything you said. I don't know that Puka Nacua would be as good here.
That's fair.
But maybe he would be, and it's just the Browns have done a bad job with drafting players at wide receiver and not necessarily developing. Is it a because Kevin Stefanski has shown his ability to develop players. Maybe those guys just aren't good. And I think Cedric Tillman is slowly showing improvement.
I don't disagree with that.
As compared to David Bell and obviously Schwartz, who did
But I'm
nothing.
saying he's not Puka, though.
Yeah, no.
But he was, I'm sure. Okay, so when the draft comes out, everybody gets a draft grade of what round you're projected. So it's not just one person that thinks that Puka was a 5th-round pick.
Right.
Like, the Rams ain't the only team that thought that he was a 5th-round pick. People thought he was probably worse than that.
Right.
So
amazing. He's been a superstar as a rookie.
So from a talent standpoint and from watching film, people graded Cedric Tillman as a 3rd-round pick or somewhere in that area. So from a talent standpoint and watching him, you would think that he would be better, right? Coming in.
But it doesn't always work that way.
True, but I'm saying my point of saying that is talent.
They have a bad track record.
I think that Cedric Tillman has more talent than Puka because everybody thought that he did from what they saw.
Well,
they
we don't
thought
know if anybody else would have taken Cedric Tillman that high. Maybe only the Browns thought he had that talent.
That's true, too.
The
Browns liked him over the other Tennessee guy. I know that.
Over Hyatt?
Yeah.
Who ain't doing a thing.
Nope.
Who went before Tillman?
Yeah.
One pick before.
All right.
Well, you're last up here. The final what-if Kool-Aid meter today. Now, this was made for G. Bush. G. Bush is not here, so I appreciate you stepping up. Mm-hmm. G. Bush was hooting and hollering for DeAndre Hopkins all offseason.
So was I.
You were too, but G. Bush was driving that bandwagon. So with the baseline 5, where would the Browns be today if they had signed DeAndre Hopkins as a free agent this past summer?
I went with an 8, and because they would be a lot better. I probably should have gone 9. I didn't want to go all the way to 10 because that's what I get. Because to me, Nick Chubb's a 10. I thought about it. I gave it an 8, but I probably would even, thinking about it today, go to a 9. If they had another really good receiver, and Hopkins, even though he's past the age where you still think guys are good, he's put up on a terrible team. He's put up great numbers. I mean, he's going to go over 1,000 yards. He would have been a perfect second receiver with Amari Cooper. I think that's what he is at this point in his career. So it would have been. I mean, if you had DeAndre Hopkins right now as your number 2 guy instead of, I mean, who is their number 2 guy? I mean, I know it's Njoku, but who do you consider the Browns' number 2 receiver right now? Elijah Moore or Cedric Tillman?
David Njoku.
No, I said David.
No, but
I know.
I guess it's Elijah Moore.
I trust Tillman more than Elijah Moore. I know it sounds ridiculous.
Elijah actually drops the ball a lot.
And he has no. You know, we talk about Amari Cooper having great body control on the sideline.
Yeah.
Elijah Moore's the opposite. He has no body sense at all.
I mean, I hadn't really thought of it until you just said that. It kind of sounds nonsensical, but I trust Tillman more than Elijah Moore.
I don't disagree. But can you imagine if you had Hopkins instead?
But it's such a butterfly effect. I mean, yeah, you'd love to snap your fingers and say, okay, DeAndre, are you willing to take a $4 million contract to come play with Deshaun again?
Yeah.
But that wasn't the case. He was going to chase every dollar.
I hear you.
And they weren't in a position.
But for this question on ignoring that.
Yeah,
but
I know.
yes,
I know.
yeah.
But I just.
In reality, it's money, but it's money that I think would have been well spent.
It would have been well spent.
Maybe you wouldn't have traded for a lot. You know, maybe if you'd made that move before trading for Elijah Moore, it's not as big a difference financially.
But it's what's it going to impact you going forward? What's it going to cost you next year with the cap and everything else? We've talked at length about they're trying to save every dollar they can to roll over to next year and then the year after and then the year after to manage these contracts. But, yeah, I mean, you'd love to have DeAndre Hopkins on this roster. Sure, absolutely. Amari on one side and Hop on the other.
Oh. I mean,
Flacco would be throwing for 500 yards a game. How's that for your Kool-Aid meter?
Man. I want Flacco to throw for 400.
Wait a minute. DeAndre Hopkins got
Quiet the haters.
DeAndre Hopkins got almost 1,000 yards.
I just said that, Titus. Where you been?
I didn't pay attention to that part. I didn't know that.
But hang on.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's hating on Flacco.
I know. I'm kidding.
No, but we're going to hear about it. I just think I think Titus and I are trying to just be realistic about where this is.
That's it.
And understand that, like, hey, this is not normal. I don't know how sustainable this is, so you better enjoy the hell out of it for however long it lasts.
I agree with you guys on that. Where I think we're in a disagreement is how well he's played against Watson this year only.
No, well, people think that I think that Joe Flacco is just getting lucky, and I mean that's not the case. I think he's talented, and I think some of the things he's doing is great. The fact that he's going through his progressions and being able to find where to go, and the fact that he is distributing the football, I think all of that is great. I just think that it's the teams that he's going against aren't a really good passing defense. I mean, if he can do those same things against a team like the Jets who got a great defense, then I think that I'm wacko for Flacco like everybody else.
And I do think that he's a perfect match with what Kevin wants to do.
Yes.
I think it's a perfect match. And I do think that Deshaun needs to look at this and listen, you don't have to go under center 90% of the time. But and he I've talked about this. I talked to him after that Baltimore game, and he said, like, you know, Kevin wants me under center a little bit more, and it's an adjustment for me. I never said that he was against it. I'm just saying this is an adjustment for him.
Yeah.
And I hope that this is proof that, like, hey, there's some merit to this. When you look at the numbers, when you look at their yards per play coming off play action as opposed to straight drop back, when you realize, when you understand, which he does, play action's more effective from under the center than out of the shotgun. When you put all these things together, you could still do it Deshaun's way. You could still be out of the shotgun more than half of the time. But there's merit to going under center. There's merit to running play action. There's merit to doing the things that Kevin is saying. And what Joe is doing is proof of that. Well, fair?
That's very fair. Well, not Joe Flacco. Y'all got me. Stop saying that man's name. Kevin Stefanski. He studied under Gary Kubiak.
Yep.
Correct.
Minnesota.
And Gary Kubiak was with Baltimore, right? Or was he?
At one point he was.
He was the offensive coordinator. So technically, Joe Flacco ran what Kevin Stefanski likes. So that's why it works. Then that's why to him it's not that he can come up and pick it up.
And I do think that Kevin's flexible, and I think he can design an offense to fit any.
Well,
system.
I mean, it's evident he's done it.
But every coach has tenets that they believe in that are effective, and this is one of them for Kevin. Is play action. He's not going to come out and say it. I think we talked about this on the show. Just connect the pieces. Yeah. This is one of the staples he believes in.
No doubt.
Is play action.
He loves
as an effective form of offense.
And it is. And it's working.
We got a bunch of Super Chats today, so let's get to them. And Super Chats, as always, are brought to us by PCC Airfoils. So if you're looking for a job with career advancement and great benefits, PCC Airfoils is a leading manufacturer in Northeast Ohio. All locations of PCC Airfoils in Eastlake, Menor, Wickliffe, and Minerva are hiring for all positions starting at $18 and up. Plus, full benefit packages, paid time off, and a signing bonus. You can apply online at precast.com/careers to learn more. First Super Chat of the day comes from Zeke Dog, who says, I attended my first NFL game 59 years ago today at the age of 5 with my father, the last Browns championship game. Let this season be our repeat. Bill Rodewalt says, Bull, before the Super Bowl era, there were 12 teams with the best players in the world. Talent was more concentrated then. All talent with fewer teams in the playoffs now. better players, fewer teams, tougher to win.
No, I
Williams.
disagree with that.
That's not true.
They were smoking cigarettes.
None of that is true.
At halftime. and-
Again, I brought it up yesterday because I didn't want anybody to feel like I don't mean to diminish Otto Graham. What he did in his time was great. He was a fantastic player of his era. You just can't compare that era and now. It's different. It's different. Plus, most of us were not alive to see it. So, you know, how much, like, I don't get it. When I think about the 1908 Cubs winning the World Series, it doesn't give me any pleasure. I was not alive.
Next one, William Slater, in reference to the fantasy question, said, Bull, you should take the money. Also, Tyvis, that shirt's fire. Where can I get it? Is that homage?
Yeah, it's
Homage.
Homage. What's with the homage?
homage. Yeah, so.
I thought it was pronounced different, even though it's spelled like homage, but I guess not. Homage.
Actually,
Okay, it's
I
an
think-
homage shirt,
yeah.
William. Check it out. It is fire. Tyvis, it's a good one.
Or
Did they give that to you?
Or maybe the
Yeah,
Amish.
they gave it because
You know
Denzel
what?
got a charity.
Homage.
You know?
You've been-
Shout out to y'all.
Homage has been slighting me for
Yeah, what's up with that?
years.
Giving all this stuff to
Can't get a thing out.
Don't
Joe,
do that because I ain't got.
Veneman's getting
they
hooked
ain't-
up.
I only got like 2 things from them ever.
When we were on the Cavs,
But I-
Barn used to get stuff. McManaman used to get stuff. Nothing for J-Lo.
Man.
Nothing
All right,
for J-Lo.
next
Did
up,
you
from
ask?
Joe
Haynes
Rizzo.
was getting stuff.
You got to ask.
Marla Ridenour was getting stuff.
All right, next up comes from Joe Rizzo. He says, any chance for a Nick Chubb playoff return? He's
No.
back.
No.
Wish.
No.
John Jelinek says Jerome Ford needs a seeing eye dog. Damian Frederick says
Too many men
it's a
on the field.
revenge game for week 2 last year and week 16 of 2020 with a chance to clinch. Lost to the Jets when the wide receivers were out due to COVID.
Oh, yeah.
They need to finish strong.
Did
It's
lose that
rounders.
game.
ACAP Rocky 25 says, I wish the best for Baker, but I don't believe our locker room is flourishing the way it is right now. Had we kept 6?
I think that's probably
He was
true.
divisive in there. It
There's
was
no
divisive.
doubt. There's no doubt.
Charles T says, we have seen Stefanski's scheme guys wide open. Flacco's play this year shows that with a veteran quarterback, Stefanski's offense is good and is good, period. Can Deshaun resist the urge to play hero ball and hit the open guys? We got to see that happen. Corey McLaughlin says, Bull, stop.
basketball.
Baker is in a trash NFC division, not the AFC North.
The NFC South is trash.
It is trash, yeah. 100%.
Next up, Charles T says, what other backup quarterbacks fit Stefanski's offense of hit the schemed open guys and take a few shots per game, don't turn over the football?
Few shots. Takes a lot more than a few shots.
He is now.
I'm about to say he is now.
DTR is the long-term backup on this team, guys. Like,
Yeah, sure.
Oh, we all know
that's,
that.
no, I don't think everyone knows that.
Well,
I don't
who don't know that? They drafted him. He's under.
J&G are going to lose their minds if they don't bring. As much as I've defended Flacco today, it's lightning in a bottle. It's going to end at some point.
Okay.
I'm hoping it doesn't end until after this year, but it's going to end at
Wait a
some
minute,
point.
let me ask you
I'm
this.
fine with him not coming back next year.
How far do they go with Joe Flacco?
I think they could go to the Super Bowl.
It's
So
12:56.
if they win the Super Bowl, he can't come back. He cannot come back.
If he wins the Super Bowl, he won't want to come back. He'll
Yeah,
retire.
he should retire.
He'll retire.
He
Can I
should
save
retire.
that for another,
We're
another
going to
grenade?
table that till the end of the year. Go
Yeah, we
ahead.
can't have a grenade with the final 3 minutes here.
Not another grenade during Super Chats.
Colin Keith says, Bull, you're out of pocket. Chubb is better than McCaffrey.
No, he's not. Dude, nobody
McCaffrey
loves.
does more.
Y'all like say McCaffrey.
Nobody loves Nick Chubb. I'm telling you, he is my favorite Browns player of all time and one of my all-time favorite players. Love him. Couldn't love him more. He is the perfect player. Every single thing I've heard about this guy as a human being is phenomenal. I love him. Couldn't love him more. But McCaffrey is
more versatile and he does
If
more.
you're talking about just running the ball, they're neck and neck.
Of
Maybe
course.
even
Yeah.
a pinch ahead to Chubb. But as a pass catcher, it's not close.
Steve wanted us to know that in 2014, Flacco threw for 3,986 yards and a career high of 27 touchdowns under Kubiak.
There you go.
So, bam, there's your answer.
2 more. This one comes from Jordan Tarman. Would you rather have Bill Belichick as the head coach next year or Kevin Stefanski?
Kevin
Kevin
Stefanski.
Stefanski. Not even close.
I'm not going down that
And he
dark
said, what
road.
about Bill as the head coach, you demote Kevin to offensive coordinator, and
Nope.
Schwartz as
Nope.
Yeah, that's going to happen.
That's ridiculous.
Nope.
Get
Kevin
outta
would
here.
gladly take a demotion.
Kevin Stefanski over Bill Belichick because it'll just – I think that the players now have a bunch of energy and they love what they do.
Yeah,
With Bill
Belichick's
Belichick,
old news.
it'll
He
be
was
all
great.
flipped.
He's done. That's
I'm not sure
And he
he's
needs,
done, but I
and he
don't wanna
needs
hear.
Tom Brady.
and he wants to be the GM, and he sucks as a GM at this point.
Last one comes from
That's
Mincy
true.
Farts. I think if Flacco, Cooper, Njoku, or Garrett gets hurt, that's the end of the season. Or do you guys think we can still win the Super Bowl if any of those four, Flacco, Cooper, Njoku, or Garrett?
If Njoku goes down, they love Austin Hoop. Not Austin.
All
Hooper.
four of those guys.
Harrison Bryant.
Harrison.
Those
Bryant.
would be the
man.
and
They
Denzel
love
Ward.
Austin Hooper too, though.
I'd put Denzel Ward in that group too.
He hasn't played. Oh, he ain't been playing like that in the past couple of weeks.
Still, I think he's pretty important. But those four guys, and I think the kicker is one of those guys.
They just lost the kicker.
Yeah.
This season defies logic. Everything we thought was true is not
Yeah.
true. It doesn't apply. We
Well,
talked
right
about it
now,
before. You can't win if you turn the ball over. The Browns turn the ball over and win. You can't win without a running game. Well, the Browns
The
did without
last team to win
Joe
the Super
Flacco.
Bowl after leading the league in turnovers was
the Broncos
Yep.
with Peyton
Peyton
Manning
Manning.
last year. The only injury that I would say they can't go to the Super Bowl with right now is Flacco. That's it. Only because
I'm not going down this road with you no
your boy
more.
Phillip can't
It's
play.
12.
I'm not
59,
going where-
finish
I'm not-
up.
No, you're wrong.
We
Finish
got
up.
an explosive overtime coming, by the way.
But we're gonna be fighting with a friend of Mike who's a Jets fan, who he claims is the Jets version of me.
You're going to put him in circles. I cannot
Yeah,
wait.
this guy
Cannot
doesn't belong
wait.
on the same stage. He won't be.
It's going
He'll
to be
on
awesome.
the computer.
If you're not a member, this is a member. This
Become
whole
a
team
member
be
today.
for it.
We'll see ya.
You got a minute and a half.
That's
Become a
it.
member.
The Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show.
Peace.